And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 26 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. And Tony has got, what do you got there, Tony?
We got Vern.
Vern.
Vern's here tonight.
Vern is in the house. Vern, this is a Tony Michael original exclusive. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Well, he's obviously, the name is inspired from Ernest.
Hey.
That's where he comes from. That's where the name originates from. So how you
it.
doing tonight, man? Raptors.
Oh man. No. Oh, we are literally on the eve here of the Game 5 of the NBA Finals, which takes place tomorrow night right here in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena. 20,000 people are going to be in the arena. There's going to be about 30,000 people outside in the immediate vicinity. They're calling for even thousands of more on the streets, especially if the Raptors win. Now, you cannot count out Golden State. They are a three-time champion. 15, 17, 18, yeah. Three-time champion, 2 in a row, and have been to the finals 5 years in a row. I mean, you can't count them out. Even though they have some injuries, you can't count them out. We still don't know if Kevin Durant is going to be playing. He's questionable for tomorrow night. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But all that being said, it is electric in the city right now because this will be our first major sports win since Joe Carter's home run to win the World Series in, I believe, in the bottom of the ninth, or was it extra innings? It was either extra innings or the bottom of the ninth back in 93. So, I mean, this is 25 years in the making. If it happens tomorrow night, woohoo! Fingers crossed.
The big flames ignited from Toronto up in the skies all the way down here in Atlanta.
Yes, if anybody in the States goes outside tomorrow night at around 11, whatever, and you see these fireworks going off in the distance, you know it's coming all the way from Toronto.
Pretty much. I'm pulling for you guys, man. You know, it's been a while since you guys have had something to celebrate in sports anyways, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens. You can't count out the Warriors, but a lot of people were saying the Warriors in 4, and then that didn't happen. The Warriors in 5, and then that didn't happen. The Warriors in 6, and then that's not happening. So you know, I mean, and if it wasn't for that 18-0 run debacle in the second game, third quarter by the Raptors would have swept the Warriors. I mean, it would have happened.
Crazy that you're even saying that, you know?
Yes, the Raptors would have absolutely swept the Warriors if it wasn't for that third quarter. So, I mean, you know, but hey, you can't, you know, you have to respect the champ. You got to respect the champ.
Absolutely.
You know, and because they're champs for a reason. So tomorrow night should be interesting. This is episode 26 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Hard to believe, Tony. We're already up to episode 26. Man. Unbelievable. And today, Tony and I are talking some April Fool's Day and Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I'm glad, you know, when we had kind of talked about this idea a couple weeks back about, you know, integrating maybe some more B horror movie genres that don't really get talked about much. I'm pumped, man. I'm glad we're doing this.
Well, it's funny. The very first time I ever saw April Fool's Day was actually in 1997. That's the first time that I saw it. And I saw it with my buddy Evan and Brian. We rented it one night. So in 97, when I was 18. So we rented it along with The Exorcist because I had yet to see The Exorcist. Hard to believe, but I had yet to see it. And what's even crazier to think is that in 1997, the movie April Fool's Day was only 11 years old.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It was only 11 at the time.
That's crazy to think because we look at that movie now and we think, oh, it's so old. Like, you know, you can tell it's so old and it's so, you know, dated. But watching that movie in 1997, it wasn't as dated. You know what I mean? It still was a bit dated. But that was when I first saw both The Exorcist and April Fool's Day. So, and then Sleepaway Camp I saw, I think, when I was 12 or 13. And of course, at that time, it was only maybe 10 years old. So I don't know, Tony, what do you think of when you think of both of these movies? Your thoughts on Sleepaway Camp and April Fool's Day?
Well, kind of like yourself, I was a late comer to Sleepaway Camp. I think the first time I saw Sleepaway Camp was probably early 2000s. It was a movie that never really. I mean, I'd always would see it, on the shelves. The old VHS cover with the shoe, the knife going through the shoe. That was that's what we had here in the States. I know there are several different VHS tape covers to Sleepaway Camp, but we had the one that I think most people would know is the shoe and the knife, and it was just always there. And I was just like, I don't know. But April Fools, I saw that late '80s. Was the first time I saw that. I mean, what can I say about it? I mean, you got my girl Amy Steele in some blue underwear. If I'm gonna see Amy Steele in some blue underwear, you cannot go wrong. So whoever's creative decision on that, thank you very much.
Yeah, Amy Steele is in that. I remember now when I was watching that movie, I for the first time, I remember I think I had a crush on Muffy, the one that ends up, kind of being.
Oh yeah.
And I remember watching that movie. And for those of you that haven't seen April Fool's Day, spoiler alert, but it's, but for, guys, it's a movie that's 33 years old, okay? If you're, I assume most people have probably seen it that are tuning into this, but who knows? But if not, spoiler warning, you may want to go watch the movie and then come back and watch this. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You've been warned. So as you know, the movie is not what it seems, and it's all one big April Fool's joke, and everybody who dies in the movie does not actually die. And I remember when I was watching that, the very first time the big reveal happened, I was genuinely surprised. I mean, I remember thinking, what? And I remember my buddy Evan was like, what the fuck? He's like, what? And we were all kind of like, what? What? You know what I mean? And it's part of the charm of that kind of movie. It's sort of almost, I'm not going to say it's like Scream because it's a different shtick altogether, but in terms of, they both sort of don't take themselves seriously, or too seriously, I should say, and there's a lot of sort of tongue-in-cheek breaking the fourth wall, especially at the end of the movie when Muffy is, her throat is slit, which it really isn't, right? And then the girl who is doing it quickly looks at the camera and winks. Right. So there's a lot of that sort of, the whole movie really is just a spoof at the end of the day. But you as an audience member, it's not like watching, maybe Scary Movie. It's, it's not like that. But the whole movie is sort of built with some. You genuinely believe that it's actually unfolding, and there's nothing really that gives it away until, of course, the end of the movie, which is what it's supposed to, reveal. It's like a horror movie version of Michael Douglas in The Game, almost. If you know what I mean, right?
Really,
like, I mean, it's
in rewatching it this weekend, I thought of it almost like the horror movie B version of St. Elmo's Fire. College kids who are kind of coming into their own, about to begin life and whatnot. I had forgot that these were college kids, because they'd been, man, I hadn't seen April Fool's probably at least a decade, minimally a decade. Was the last time I watched that movie, and watching it yesterday, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, they're in college, and I totally forget that Biff is in the freaking movie. Like, yes, I totally forget. Now, is this before? This is before Back to the Future, right?
No, this is after Back to the Future. 1 year after Back to the Future, and he's a hilarious, he's a funny, really charismatic, outlandish guy.
When you watch that, it's like, wow, night and day as far as acting ability goes. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah, he was hilarious in Happy Death Day. I almost called it because it reminds me of a Happy Death Day type film.
Yes, yeah. And it's gotta. I mean, obviously these movies, whether it's April Fool's Day or Sleepaway Camp, yeah, they're dated, obviously, because even at the time they were not big budget movies, and so I mean they were dated sort of right out of the gate. So there's
a charm to that too.
Oh, there absolutely is, but the production value obviously is not going to get better with age. But certainly there's a charm to it, especially if you have an emotional, nostalgic attachment to it. And I think the concept of, shit going down, and then all of a sudden it ends up being a joke. It's not a new concept with April Fool's Day. You don't usually see it in horror movies unless you know out of the gate that everything is a spoof. It's a spoof movie to begin with. But April Fool's Day, I watched the trailer to April Fool's Day, and because I was curious to see what the marketing was like back in 1986, because of course in 86 we were only 7, so I don't particularly remember marketing for that movie all that well. But it was, to my surprise, actually marketed in a very sort of tongue-in-cheek manner. And like even the shot at the end of the movie with all of all of the actors going, April Fools, right? Like that shot, that moment was actually in the trailer, and that's part of the like that's part of the big reveal. I mean,
right.
you know that going into the movie is done. So
I think the movie going audience in the 80s probably wasn't thinking along those lines.
You know what
I mean?
No, and exactly, and it's only obvious to you in retrospect anyway. Sure. So I mean, that just could have been at any point. But the tone of the trailer and the style of the trailer was very sort of I don't want to say light, but you could tell that it was. There was a whimsy to it. There was a whimsical sort of, it didn't feel like a very serious horror film. But there was like a whimsy to it, which very much is kind of like what Scream had, right? Had that whimsy sort of kind of element to it. But April Fool's Day was, I had a big crush on Muffy back in the day when I first watched that movie, and
Amy
she was.
Oh, Amy Steele, good God. Friday the 13th and this. Yeah, like I said, I mean, and Amy Steele, she didn't really reveal herself. So the fact that you even get that scene in April Fool's when she's there in the bedroom with her boyfriend, I was just like, wow, whoever did that, man, thank you so much. Because she seemed like a very conservative actress, who wouldn't really push it to that level. But in this, she was a little feisty, because even like with some of the questions they were asking each other in the kitchen, and even like when she's on the boat dock with him making out, I'm like, okay, she's a little feisty. Like, you're seeing a different side of her, and I really like that. Because in Friday the 13th, she totally plays the angel, Miss Perfect, the opposite. And she plays it very well. It's too bad we didn't see more of her in the 80s, because I really think she would have made a really good run of being one of the top screen queens of the 80s had she really pushed herself harder.
Yeah, and I don't even think she's acting all that much anymore. I mean, I stand to be corrected, but I don't think she is.
Not that I'm aware of anything, Someone might in the chat room might throw it out our way, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe she is. But I think she's been off of that for a while now. But yeah, I mean, it's a like, and the movie has some genuine suspense in it.
Does.
And the location is great. And I understand even in 1986 they were compared, like the two movies were very similar to each other in terms of setting and location, in terms of that movie and Friday the 13th. And I know that there was a lot of comparisons to that, but the setting was a great setting. I love the concept of going to an island where you have to rely on somebody else in order to be able to get off the island. Yeah. It reminds me of that old Agatha Christie, which I even think was that even, it might have even been mentioned in, was it mentioned in the book? I can't remember. Anyway, the old Agatha Christie novel. Of course, I'm not going to say what the actual name of the novel was, because it's for its time. You know what I mean? Now it'd be a little like, whoa, I can't believe it was called that. But the movie was called 10 Little Indians, and then I believe there was also another name called And Then There Were None. And it is about a group of people going to a location, whether it's a mansion or whatever, and one by one they start to disappear. And that concept is now, of course, in that story, I believe, I don't think it turns out to be fake. I think it's an actual sort of thing happening. But I love the idea. It's a what's the word I'm trying to say? There's some genuine suspense. Love the location. Little cheesy at times because obviously it's not a high, production film, and it's a little dated.
Yeah, and I think that's why people like you and myself appreciate it still to this day, because we accept it for that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah. For sure. And when you watch it for what it is, I think it can be quite enjoyable. A lot of the effects look a little dated now, like when Nikki is rolling around at the bottom of the well, you can certainly tell that the heads are, not too real. But it's not as, like, when I went into watching it again last week, I was worried that it's dated, but it's all right. Like, I mean, it works because of its ending. And both of these movies actually have their endings going for them. Sure. And if it wasn't for both of these movies' endings, April Fool's Day and Sleepaway Camp, I've said this before, it's not that there aren't some redeeming qualities throughout these movies, but it's the ending, both of these endings that really, I think, help to solidify their cult classic sort of status within the world of horror, because both endings are, whoa, didn't see that coming, right? And when you can have that, it almost helps to even out maybe some of the slower moments or moments that there's nothing really because when you think of April Fool's Day, it really is just a poor man's version of Friday the 13th until the ending.
Till the ending, yep.
Right, like, you know what I mean? And that's, like, at the end of the day, that's sort of what solidifies it to help make it stand on its own. Because both movies are a whodunit, both movies are who is the killer, right? You don't know who it is till the very last moment. But Friday the 13th, I think, has a better soundtrack. It has a better, it's better paced. I mean, it's dated too. Now I'm talking about the first Friday the 13th now from 1980. It's dated too now, but I think it's actually a scarier film overall, in large part because of its cinematography and music. And whereas April Fool's Day, it's like, oh, it's got that Friday the 13th-ish vibe to it, but it's more of a poor man's version of it. But that ending is like, oh, cute. Okay. Oh, nice. It helps you sort of it helps that redeeming quality. I don't know. Do you see it the same way at all, or?
No, I do. In fact, one of the things I was thinking about yesterday, and the quality of the film, and what could have made this film even that much better, okay? And I take nothing away from the guy who played opposite to Amy Seal, her boyfriend in there, but he wasn't holding his own. Like, I wasn't buying him into him as the actor and the character, because when you look at Steele's performance, when you look at we'll just call him Biff because I don't know his name in real life. What's his name in real life? Thomas something, Robert something, or whatever.
Starts with a T. I'll get
Thomas something.
Ba 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 ba.
Thomas Wilson.
There you go. That's yeah.
Thomas Wilson, Amy Steele, and even the girl who plays Buffy in Muffy. In the film,
Buffy and Muffy.
The performances are really good. I just felt like the boyfriend, the girl who kind of teased everybody, she was all right. Right. I felt like, maybe if you had recasted her, the video geek guy as well too. Like, I just felt like if you changed the actors around and maybe shelled out for a couple of better, marquee talents, that could have taken that movie up even that much further, because Steele's performance and Biff's performance and Muffy's performance is really solid, like you were saying, throughout the whole film. That unfortunately, when you're playing off of an actor who really is like her boyfriend, I wasn't buying it. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't buying him and her connection at all on screen, and that definitely, to me, I picked up on it right away. But overall, it is a solid movie that still holds up to this day. Like you were saying there with the surprise ending on both films. I love showing that movie to someone new for the first time, and whether it's Sleepaway Camp or April Fools, and it's like, oh my God, it was a joke. Yeah. Like really? Like, yeah, like, is there something else? No, that's it. It was all a joke,
Yeah.
and then Sleepaway, we'll get to that in a minute. But,
well, and I wonder if I wonder if they didn't honestly contemplate the ending of the movie when what's-her-face slices Muffy's neck. If they didn't actually contemplate...
She was good. I did like her as the actress. She was good.
She was good. But I wonder if they didn't actually, think maybe you actually do kill her. Like maybe it's that, oh shit, but then it's... where does that go and why would she do that? But no, I thought it was solid all around. I see what you're saying about the guy playing opposite Amy Steele.
Yeah. If you think about it, if you changed him around and put in a Kevin Bacon type person, someone with that type of acting ability, who's still green, obviously, because when Bacon did Friday, he was very green. But you can clearly see, even in Friday, dude's got chops, and he's, I don't think anyone expected him to go there, but he totally went there with his stardom and his acting ability. But you could see it. So that's what I was saying. If you had someone like a Kevin Bacon type character playing opposite to her, even like the guy who played Paul opposite to her in Friday Part 2, he was all right. He was solid. Yep. He was much better. Her love interest in Part 2 as an actor was much better than the guy in April Fool's Day. I wasn't buying him. And I felt like if you just, maybe had went out and searched a little bit harder for someone, and same thing with the video creepy dude. I wasn't buying him in the promiscuous girl. I wasn't buying her as a promiscuous girl. She just wasn't selling it for me. You change that around, I think it changes the whole dynamics of the movie and even elevates it that much more, even though now it has a cult following.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I got to be honest. I didn't have any issues with the promiscuous girl, Nikki.
Oh, she's got a great body. I mean, yeah.
No, but I did like, to me, they were all pretty standard cookie cutter sort of expendable characters that you would get in a movie like this.
Sure.
I certainly can see what you're saying about the guy playing opposite Amy Steele, but I think in a lot of ways, what didn't drive this, because there was really there wasn't a lot of music in this movie.
No, very atmosphere.
Yes, and what music there was usually was the same piece of music, which I thought was great, which I thought was fine. But I think if the characters had more to do, and maybe if there was more, I mean, let's not forget, we watched about 2 minutes of them kicking a soccer ball around, somebody's backyard.
1980s for you, folks. Long, drawn-out scenes.
But a lot of that has to do with you're at this one location. There's not a lot going on because really,
by the way, did you catch when that soccer scene, because it just reminded me, boy, we had no shame of how we dressed in the 80s. And when Biff is he's wearing these short shorts, but underneath it are like long boxer shorts.
Yes.
Oh my God. And then the dude wearing pajama pants and he's got them like rolled up. I'm like, yeah, in the 80s, we didn't give a shit, dude.
Oh, no. Well, I had like knee-high socks pulled up to my knees with my little Converse. You know what I mean? Nobody cared about that. But no, I just think that there wasn't a lot for the characters to do. I mean, somebody gets killed in a shed outside, then somebody like the most inventive kill really was Biff, in the tree, right? But other than that, there wasn't. It did feel small, and I think maybe if there was a little more for them to do, more places for them to go. Not that there wasn't a lot of places for people to go in Friday the 13th, but you were jumping from cabin to cabin to the archery area, to the water, to the, there was no, I don't know. It just, it felt
makes me wonder if he was if he was trying to go with a Black Christmas type approach.
Well, it just felt a little more like they were, like he was writing a script, but in his mind, he was really excited about it all being a joke. And that's where everything was leading. So everything in the middle was sort of just kind of, was there to just serve a purpose. Like it wasn't, he didn't flesh out a lot of the details to really kind of build it up to make it feel really dynamic, like shit's going down, like what the fuck. It just felt like a lot of the scenes, situations, there was some genuinely good suspense.
Sure.
But it didn't feel like there was a lot for the characters to do. And it felt like the kills and the stuff that, you lead to a moment and it's like, oh my God, that, sorry, and then that's kind of it. Like you'll see something off camera or sorry, the kill will be off camera and then you find the body. But I don't know. It just felt like to elevate it a bit more. Maybe they walk out into the woods and they find another, a cabin, or something, and they got to go in there and they find I don't know, maybe.
And for those who are just joining us, because I caught a couple comments, we're talking about April Fool's Day. We haven't gotten to Sleepaway Camp yet. I know it sounds like Dave's talking about Sleepaway Camp, but we're actually talking about April Fool's Day.
Yeah. I'm just talking about. Yeah, I'm just basically saying that I've always enjoyed April Fool's Day, but the narrative, the story, from the moment they get on the island and the house leading up to the big reveal is just okay. There's nothing there that's really, the deaths aren't like, oh wow, that's really cool, or because you have to remember we see, like, yeah, I guess, there's a cool death about, that one guy hanging from his neck in the doorway there. I mean, there are some cool moments. I don't know. I guess I have to watch it again. There's just there's a lull. I can't put my finger on it, but there's this lull feeling in the middle of the movie. And then the big reveal, but it's a low budget film, and there wasn't a lot for people to do, and they not a lot of interesting locations. Maybe if they had utilized the house a bit more, maybe it would have. I don't know. But apparently there was an extra about 30 minutes that was cut from the movie. Apparently everybody. In an interview that I was seeing with the woman who plays Nikki, she was saying that they actually shot a bunch of stuff that never made it into the film. So the actual ending was the group leave the island, but Skip, I think, goes back to the island to actually kill Muffy. For some reason, and then the group have to come back and like play a trick on her or so. There was like this whole other like act almost that was cut from the movie apparently, and hearing it, I don't think it was needed. I think it felt like that would have been 20 minutes too long. Like the ending of the movie is the big reveal, and that's where it should have been. But that's a little bit, an interesting anecdote about that film. I like the movie. There's a bit of a lull for me in the middle, and it just kind of feels like they're trying to just get to that big reveal. And I think maybe if the writer had paid a little more attention and been a little more creative maybe with some of the kills or reveals, it would have helped even the audience get really invested into this being real. Not that we weren't before, but it felt like he was just sort of trying to, okay, we'll just have you die there. We'll just have you in a tree. You know what I mean? Rather than actually trying to.
Yeah, no, I totally hear what you're saying.
But I've liked it. I like it. I've always liked it. I thought it was a cute little film, and it's certainly a cult sort of classic amongst horror people for sure. And
yeah, I love the fact that and I was just looking up something here on it. April Fools, by the way, guys, that we're talking about right now. That for a movie that was called April Fools, they could have easily gotten away with overdoing the April Fool's joke. I think they only, other than the ending reveal, right? There's the dock or the boat scene incident that happens, okay, and then the incident shortly thereafter where it crushes the guy, and we're led to believe that that's a real thing. In the house, there's just a couple of antics in the bedrooms that happen, but it's not like overkill. They could have gone, they could have like totally overkilled it with like the April Fool's joke where it was like throughout the entire movie. Once all that happens and everybody gets their joke pulled on them, they did a good job of making it an actual, what you're thinking you're watching is a straight up 80s slasher film. And I thought that was, as far as the pacing goes, I thought that part of the storytelling was done very well, because you could have gone the total extreme and like literally like almost have like a prank like every day, which would have overkilled it and I think would have taken away from it. So the fact that you get that reveal at the end, I think that's what makes that ending so like, oh shit, okay, like wow. And like you get a double bonus there because you get a second, with Muffy's scene.
Yes, exactly. Oh no. It was done very well. I mean, in terms of there's the prank on the boat leading over, which sets you up. April Fools, and then of course, what's his face gets hit with the boat and has got to be taken off, and everybody is in on it. My question is though, here's my question: was everybody in on it from the very beginning, other than Amy Steele's character and her boyfriend's character? Or were, like, there's a few people that were in on it from the very beginning, we know that, or were the characters, because here's my thing. Why would Biff's character, I say Biff, Tom there.
Tom, yeah.
Yeah. Why would his character need to have been, put up in a tree in order for the prank to work? Because he wasn't found in a tree. See what I'm saying? So was he in on it from the very beginning, or was he, thrown up into the tree, and then standing there is Muffy, and instead of killing him because the camera cuts away, she leans over and says, hey, okay, so here's my plan. Okay, it's just me, but I want to do this, so you can't say anything. Do you know what I'm saying? Because there's two things that are happening. There's either, we as an audience member, for this to work for us, we need to feel like this is really going down. But in reality, if Tom's character was involved from the very beginning, there'd be no need for him to go up into the tree. There'd be no need for him to go out. Now, to go out searching for what's his face that went missing, sure, because he's got to play that, he's got to play along. But to get caught in the tree and to look at Muffy, the killer, and be like, oh my God, what are you doing? What is that for? That's just for us, the audience, because there's nobody else there that he has to worry about. So the same guy that got killed in the boat shed or whatever it is, when the hand comes on the shoulder and he's like, oh, like this. Well, what? He's alone. So why would he need why would he need to pretend that a killing is happening if he's in on it from the very beginning? So I've always thought that maybe a lot of the characters outside of the boat guy were told at those moments. You know what I mean? That they thought something was actually happening. And then when you see the hand come onto the shoulder, right?
Yep.
When you see the hand come onto the shoulder, there we go. That's a better view. When you see the hand come onto the shoulder.
Did you forget to?
I did. Yeah, I did.
He's focused on me, folks.
I was. Well, for some reason it was on the preview window and not live. So there we go. Now we're live. So but so when the hand comes onto the shoulder, I've always assumed that that's the moment when, Muffy says, oh, Bob, let's just say, Bob, it's me. Okay. I'm playing a prank. You got to be in on it, pretend you're dead and blah, blah, blah. Because if not, there'd be no reason for these people to be scared.
That's very true. No, you're absolutely right.
Scared outside of the presence of Amy Steele and her boyfriend. Because if they're playing a joke on those two, if they're in the room, then I got to pretend I'm scared. But if I'm on my own walking through the woods, why am I going like this? Why am I doing that? I'm by myself. I don't need to convince anybody else. I know there's a joke, happening, right? So that always sort of kind of threw me off for a bit. And I've had to, I don't know if there's an explanation for that, but I've always had to tell myself that the real reason why they're doing that is because the only people that knew from the very beginning were the boat captain and the, blah, blah, blah. But as everybody got to the, and maybe her cousin, whatever, but everybody else were sort of told as they went, because then that makes sense. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Do you see it the same way, or does that
Pretty
ever
much.
kind
No,
of...
no, no, no. I mean, exactly. And I often wondered, do you think that they should have ever went dark with it and not be a joke? And would that have changed the whole tone of the movie?
Well, I think I would have loved to have seen that, but I think it's sort of the name of the movie is April Fool's Day, right? So I
Right.
think that's the gimmick, that's the shtick, and but I think that was my point when I was talking earlier about how it would have been very interesting if when writing the script they had maybe fleshed out a little more of the middle part of the story to help us buy into the fact that this is actually happening. Not that
Sure.
when you're watching it for the first time in 1986, you didn't believe it. I'm sure people did. But I just think that maybe if they had gone darker in the middle, it would have also made the reveal that much even better. Not that it's not good now, but it would have even taken it even up a few more notches. But I think to not make it a joke and still call it April Fool's Day, I think might have been a little. I think you would have had to have needed the things that you didn't want, which was the April Fool's jokes a couple times throughout the movie, like
Right.
maybe having a character like what's his face from Friday the 13th Part 3, the kid that Jason gets his mask from, the fat curly haired kid. Fuck, what's his name? I almost forget his name.
Oh my God.
The chat room will let us know. The chat room will let us know.
No, why am I drawing a blank? Because I can
I'm drawing a big
picture
blank.
his name.
I
trying
know
not
his
to-
name. Chat room will let us know. Here it comes. Come on.
Shelley.
Shelley. That's it. Shelley. Yeah. Yeah. So, but like Shelley was a prankster, right?
Yes.
And he was, he did that a couple of times throughout the movie. So
that he did.
I think that maybe if you went really dark with April Fool's Day and you didn't have that kind of, like everything was actually happening, you would almost need a character in there that was doing that kind of thing, not ad nauseum, but maybe a couple of false alarms just to set like there was that false alarm at the beginning on the boat with, the thing, but maybe you have a few more of that. And of course, I guess there was I guess there was a couple of false alarms. But maybe you might need a few more of them to kind of help justify the title April Fool's Day and kind of have it. So now you don't know what to believe. It's kind of like a boy crying wolf. So
Very true. Very true.
But yeah.
No, I everything you've said about the movie, I totally agree. In rewatching it yesterday, I mean, it really is a fun movie.
Yeah, it is.
You can't go wrong. If you're going to have a weekend where you don't want to like go serious with your horror movies and you want to keep it lighthearted. April Fool's, I put it in the same category now as like Happy Death Day. It's a movie that I could even feel confident showing a kid. You know what I mean? Because what's going to happen. A kid's not going to get freaked out about it. It's one of those fun, horror films that, as campy and as cheesy as those special effects look, and you're watching it and you're like, God, this is so 1980s.
Oh, yeah.
But a part of me, I miss some of that stuff. I know they can do everything now, CGI, and I understand makeup, the makeup industry and the artistry of makeup artists out there. The shit they do nowadays is so fucking unbelievable. But like I said, there is a bit of charm to that. Like when you see the dude, coming up when they're making out in the boathouse and he's going underneath and you see it, and you're like,
it's great.
Oh my God, it's so bad. And you're like, yep,
But it's great. But I agree with you. It's great.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. And like I said, there's some genuinely good suspense in that movie. But if it wasn't for the ending of that movie, I don't think it would be the cult classic it is today in the world of horror. And I think it would be just as forgotten as a movie like Terror Train.
Yeah.
And when I say, not that there aren't some fans of Terror Train, but Terror Train is one of those movies that you remember. You're like, oh yeah, the one with, Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah. But it's not, generally speaking, it's not on it's not that, oh yeah, it's not that kind of movie. It's a movie that by and large is forgotten. And there's a lot of horror movies that are like that are forgotten. And I think if it wasn't for the ending to April Fool's Day, I think it would have been like, oh yeah, I remember that movie. But the ending was, maybe it just ended with everybody dying and it just would have been this campy Friday, poor man's Friday the 13th. But that ending, to make it a joke, to make it a spoof, and to have everybody, the doors open and there's everybody there who were apparently killed, it was very well done. And that's what makes it. That's the payoff for that is what sets it, apart from a Friday the 13th or movies in and around that time of that genre. So, yeah, it was good. Now, Sleepaway Camp.
Oh boy, here we go. Actually, you know what's funny about these two movies? Because this is a good segue out of April Fools and into Sleepaway Camp. Both of these movies, especially more Sleepaway Camp, you cover controversial issues that you wouldn't expect the 80s to hit. April Fool's Day with the whole abortion thing. That's for the 80s. That was not talked about. But now into Sleepaway Camp, the controversial subjects. After rewatching that this week, I was like, there's no way this movie gets made in 2019. Yeah. With everything, with all the undertones that go on throughout this whole movie, no fucking way.
Yes. Yeah. No, exactly. And, yeah. So Sleepaway Camp. I feel the same way about the ending to Sleepaway Camp as I do to April Fool's Day. If the ending to Sleepaway Camp wasn't what it is, then I think it would be, by and large, a forgotten horror movie from the 1980s. I mean, there's nothing, it's that ending, it's that, oh my God, so that's what's going on? And that classic,
it's cheese to another level of cheese. Like April Fools, and this is like being generous, but April Fools looks like $1 billion production compared to Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, it really does. It does. Look, Sleepaway Camp is another low-budget B-horror movie from 83, I believe.
Yeah.
And, I like the idea of the camp. I believe the writer or director of the movie, I believe he actually went to the campsite as a kid.
In New York, yeah.
Yes, that they shot at. Yep. I think it's one of only 2 movies he's ever done in his life. Well, He did the straight-to-video follow-up.
Part 2?
Yeah, well, no, not part 2. It was from 2008 or something like that. He did like a straight-to-video Return to Sleepaway Camp, or I don't know. But anyway, so Sleepaway Camp is one of those movies that I give A for effort, because the concept. Most slasher movies have a pretty cookie cutter, one and done sort of, kind of thing. There was some real thought put into this, as strange as it is, and certainly as strange as it was in 1983. There was a little more there in terms of the story that makes it, interesting. Oh, so that's what's going on. Like the whole, flashback scene where the kids are giggling, watching their dad in bed with another man, and the whole, like, you're watching
even
this
to
movie.
show that in 1983, like, holy shit.
Yes, exactly. I mean, so like the subplot that was sort of there is interesting, and it's,
it is. What's funny though, and I said this to you off camera, man. The opening credit sequence to Sleepaway Camp has more fall foliage than the original 78 Halloween. It really does. In fact, I think Sleepaway Camp's opening credits may have more foliage than the entire franchise of Halloween.
Yes, the opening credits to Sleepaway Camp are pretty moody and atmospheric. And I will say there is some genuinely good 80s. What really helps that movie a lot, and I was watching it this past week, is that the movie is beyond cheese. I mean, it just is. But it has a very mature sounding score.
Oh, absolutely.
So it creates the illusion that the movie is more mature than it really is. And it would be like shooting a home, you're, 15 years old, you shoot a home movie in your backyard, but you add the Halloween soundtrack from 2018 to it.
Yeah. Well, not only that,
I'm not. Sorry, I'm just going to say that I'm not saying that the Sleepaway Camp movie looks like a 15-year-old home amateur movie in your backyard. I'm not saying that. I'm just going to the extreme to make a point that, I've watched some low budget fan films that are atrocious, but you add some mature, real, legit music and it helps bring this kind of thing up a little bit. With Sleepaway Camp, it was a low budget film, $600,000 or something to that effect. And, but it has this genuinely, at times, typical 80s but mature sounding score that you would hear in any Friday the 13th film or, something like that. So that definitely helped, like when the first body was being brought out of the water. And that's when we're introduced to Mr. Mustache. We'll get to that in a second. The music that's playing during that scene, it gives a sense of ominous foreboding, kind of like, what's going on? Holy shit. And there's a lot of that throughout the movie. And I thought it was, I thought it was good. I thought the soundtrack was actually quite good in Sleepaway Camp, but the overacting and the overcompensating was just balls to the wall hilarious. I mean, like the girl in the water skier. No! Oh my God! No!
Yeah,
and then the cook. Ah!
That scene is like literally like forever. Like, how long are we gonna be here with this scene? And he's just still screaming. I gotta go. Still screaming. Okay. I mean, yeah, no, that scene, when I watched it last night, I was like, God, that's a long, drawn-out scene. But no, just really quickly to piggyback off of the score always reminded me of, like, the old monster movie style scores. I don't know, did you ever, when you listen to it and that episodic, like, if you ever go and listen to, like, an old 30s monster film, kind of has that vibe to it. I don't know if you picked up on that at all when you listen to it.
Yeah, it does. It's one of the things I loved about the first Insidious movie. Yeah, where like the opening credits has that very ethereal, grand, old school horror sound when Insidious comes on the screen, and a lot of that sort of tone is like that. Now, of course, in this movie, the 1980s, it was 1980s music, but yeah, it does have that. And it's for the most, it's cheesy
but,
effects.
The good thing about it now, I told you this when we were talking about this movie and in preparing for it. I spent 2 summers at a camp, and that legitimately, as far as accuracy, I mean, he got it pretty accurate, because when you go to camp, it's 10, 11, 12-year-old kids, maybe young teens, but they are being watched over by people who are 16, 17, and 18 years old. That's the majority of the counselors' ages, with the exception you may have 1 or 2 adults, that are there to kind of oversee like everything. But primarily we are watched by 16, 17, 18-year-olds. And I like the fact that the director didn't go let me cast 20, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds to play 13. He legitimately got kids in this age group. And not only that, but the dialogue, that's pretty much how we talk to each other, man. When you're at camp and you're not around the parents at all, oh, it was fuck this, and you're a fucking douchebag, you freaking cocksucker, blah, 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 blah. I mean, like swearing, like literally like what you would hear that kid say in the movie. That was us, because, man, we were nowhere near our parents. So I like the fact that they went that road, and they stuck with, what looked, at the time, especially, not only with the look of the youth, the style, the clothes, but the dialogue exchange. I mean, as cheesy as it is, that's what it was really like. Absolutely. And he did a great job with that.
Yeah, he did. And of course, the dialogue is very 1980s, when you hear things like just cheesy lines, that are very 1980s, like something like I don't know. There's some real cheesy 80s lines in that movie. But the overall point that you're making is right. Look, the dynamic feels legit, and that's primarily because they are using teenagers
Yep.
and not
Real
25-year-olds
teenagers.
playing teenagers. Right. So not only visually do you see it, but you can sense it in the chemistry and you can sense it in the dynamic. And of course, there's the creepy old guy who wants to get with Megan. I don't know what the fuck that.
And she wants to get with him, which is
I
like,
know.
okay.
I know.
Talk about, before it's time, because, you say that in 2019, an old man with a younger girl, that's like, it's every day of the week now. You see it everywhere,
Yeah.
I mean, my God, Leonardo DiCaprio dates nothing but 25-year-olds.
Yeah,
So, I mean, but it's so common though, but back in 1983, that would be very taboo. Oh my God, this young 18-year-old girl's trying to get with this, 50, 60-year-old guy. That would be like that was a no-no. So much respect to the director saying, you know what, I'm going to go here because this probably was going on back then. It's not like we just discovered, a young guy dating a young girl or hooking up with a young girl. Like, we didn't just invent it. This has been going on forever. And much props to the director to say, hey, this is probably the shit that really is going on, because it is going on. It's not, but they don't talk about it. Everything was like, oh, we don't talk. And back in 83, everything was, we don't talk about that stuff. And he went there with it. And not only that, but then, you have the whole thing around the cook and, the shit that the cook was saying as the kids were getting off the bus, and, the cook's interaction with Angela, they're in the back room. It's like, wow. Like, again, if you try to do that today, film never gets made. The film would never even get greenlit, or they would cut that scene right out. The MPAA would rape the shit out of that. And that's why I'm shocked that you're still able to purchase, I checked here, you can still purchase Sleepaway Camp on iTunes. That, because we're in such a desensitized world now where everybody gets offended by everything, that I'm just shocked that you're still allowed to even purchase that because of all the things that were, talked about and shown in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a B horror movie that has mostly slipped under the radar. I think had it been a bigger budget film, it probably would have garnered more attention. But I get what you're saying, and overall, I don't. The first time I watched the movie, I remember thinking it was okay. When I watched it again, I thought it was, when I think I've only seen the movie a handful of times. When I watched it this past week, there is a charm to it. But it if it wasn't for that ending, this movie would have just slipped into the, oh, I remember that 80s movie. What? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And if it wasn't for that ending, there probably wouldn't have been sequel. Now, it was a modest box office success in comparison to its budget, of course. I mean, it did make quite a bit of money. So maybe there would have been a sequel anyway. But that being said, it's that ending. I mean, that ending is what makes that movie. And if it wasn't for that ending, I think it would have just entered into.
I still don't get why they wanted the. I don't get that. I don't get. We're sure. Why you gotta have her mouth all like? What was the significance of that shit? She could have just stood up and been like, "All right, there's his."
Well, I think it's supposed to be sort of like a. I believe it's acting more like a cinematic tableau. Yeah. Very similar to the ending of the opening to Halloween. Where Michael, take off the mask, and there he is, and the parents are just there, and the camera pans back. That's supposed to be a snapshot, right? I think this is sort of acting in the same way, even though it does cut back to the counselors, and they're like, oh my God, whatever. I think when it cuts back to the girl, and she's just like this, it's almost like a snapshot, like, oh shit, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? And who knows what she was doing at that moment. Maybe she was going, or whatever, or who the fuck knows. But it's scary. It's a scary face. And of course, when you reveal her body and it looks like all of a sudden, it does not look like the same body at all. No. And that's like, it looks like this hairy beast of a body. It looks like, I equate it to, it looks like she's becoming like a wolf man. Like, yeah, that's what it looks like. It
didn't make sense to the age of her character, because if it is supposed to be a boy, the dude looks like he's in his mid-20s, okay?
Yeah, well, exactly. And she's exactly. And she or he is actually the boy at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
You know, the boy at the beginning of the movie that was where, like, the boy that was with the girl going like, that's who that's supposed to be. Because obviously the girl was killed at the beginning in the accident, as was her father, I believe.
Yeah.
So the boy had to go and live with their aunt, and she wanted a girl, and then the rest is history. But when you look at her body,
they basically give that away in the beginning there, what you just said about the girl, the mom there in the dream sequence, or not the dream sequence, when they're picking up the kids at the house, and the kid's like, hey, you know, what about our, or no, she hands him the physicals. And then they start having that little dialogue exchange.
Right.
Like, is that the reveal of, like, basically what's to come that the audience doesn't pick up on until you rewatch it?
Yes. It's foreshadowing. It's just a clue. It's a I'd say a 1.5 dimensional clue that could mean anything. It's a clue that isn't specific to something, but when you think about it and you go back again, you go, oh, now I understand what she means. But saying it on its own, you know, oh, here's, you know, your physicals and be careful because there's something kind of strange about that, or whatever she said there, right? There's nothing necessarily in and of itself that would make you go, oh, there's something up with Angela. You know, I mean, not at all. It could mean a number of things. It's one of those sort of inconspicuous clues that help to foreshadow the eventuality of what is revealed. But only in hindsight do you go back and go, okay, it's smart, cute. And a lot of good movies will do that. I'm not saying that Sleepaway Camp is an exceptionally great movie, but yeah, the whole, like, when you look at Angela's body when she's just walking around at the camp, obviously because she is a 12 or 13-year-old girl, she's very feminine. Right? Yeah. Not just her face, but her body, her legs, her arms. And then, of course, when it gets to the end reveal, it's like she's Beast Man. Like, she is literally, and she's, and it's all this hair. It's like she said, fuck this, I'm done with being your pretty little bitch. I am coming out. And it literally is like she is the daughter or son, depending on how you look at it, of American Werewolf in London. Like, whoever that guy, like, just, yes, exactly. Like, it literally looks like that. Like, she's like, that's literally what it looks like. Like, she's hairy all over. She got this big cock hanging out. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Like a 12 and 13-year-old boy should look like. It made no sense to go that far with it, man. You could have just,
well, I think the reason why they had to do that was because they couldn't go pubescent boy. Because
that's true too.
Then you're at a whole different problem.
Yeah.
So I think they went there and they made it manly, because at the very least, then now it's like, oh, this is, do you know what I'm saying? Was if they actually showed the naked body of a 12-year-old boy,
it ain't looking anything like that. That's for
sure. Oh my God, the lawsuits would be amazing.
Yeah, that movie would be forever banned.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But it's that end. I mean, look, it's a cheesy, campy, to be honest with you, mostly forgettable film, really. Yeah. Like, really, at the end of the day.
Creative kills, though.
Creative kills. There's some cool moments. But like I said, if it wasn't for that ending, bringing it all home and making you go, oh, didn't see that coming, then I think it would have been a mostly forgotten film. Same as April Fool's Day. You know, there's a scene in April Fool's Day as well where there's that owl clock, right? That's going like this, back and forth. And that, to me, is telling you that there's more to what, that there's somebody, it's great subtle symbolism. Owls are up at when? Night, right? And owls see very well, don't they?
Oh, right? Yeah. You ever seen an owl at night?
Oh, yeah.
Creepy, man. It's creepy.
But what that symbolizes to me is that you have this owl clock going like this. To me, it's like somebody knows something. Like there's somebody else there. Things are not what they seem. There's a secret. Somebody knows something, right? Because they hone in on it very specifically a couple of times, especially after, I stand to be corrected, but it may even be after a death or after a certain moment or something like that. It's almost, it read that to me. Or sorry, I read into that like that. And that's, it's smart. And when you know about owls and you know about being up at night and you know how they hunt at night, right? You know, they do their hunting at night. To have an owl clock going like this back and forth, it's like, I'm not doing anything. I know what's going on. There's something else. You know, it's again, it's almost like a little subtle clue that things are not what they appear to be.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, I love when they do that kind of shit. But
yeah, you know, I remember early 2000s when I watched Sleepaway Camp. I got to tell you, my first thought was Ricky. It really was. I thought he was the killer. I didn't think it was Angela. I thought when, again, this is first time watching it back, you know, almost 20 years now. I thought it was like so obvious, like Angela would be too obvious, you know, like she's got this thing going on with Meg and what was the bully's name? I know Meg was one of the bullies, but the other one, the main bully, the main antagonist.
I forget.
What was her name?
I forget.
Somebody help me out in the chat rooms. Meg.
Megan and was it Steph? No, it wasn't Steph.
No, it wasn't Steph.
Megan and
oh my gosh, what the hell was her name?
Wait.
Just watched the movie last night.
Judy? Mel?
Yeah. Judy. It is Judy. Karen.
It's Judy.
Field. There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Steph.
Stephanie. How rude.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, chat room. Appreciate it. Yes, Judy. So now, what were we saying here?
We were talking about how the bully. You were talking about how.
It sucks getting old. You forget shit easily.
I do. You were talking about how there was that Meg was not the only bully. Judy was
right.
Bully.
Judy was the bully. And again, you know, touching on a subject. Obviously, I know that's not where I was going with it, but I was going to talk about this anyway, so I'll just talk about it now. The bullying aspect of it, you know, and how that still resonates today. You know what I mean? When you really think about it, and
sure.
Kids, and you know, it's no different. You know, this is just how you know, you would think kids would change, but it's just. And he went there. I mean, he didn't pull. Oh, I was talking about the reveal and like how when I first saw it. There we go. I'll get back to that in a second, and we'll talk about the bullying here. Because he could have tiptoed around that and how kids treat each other. But when you watch the film, and yeah, that's what camp went in my memory of going to summer camp for those 2 years. You know, I saw kids do that to other kids. And I'm not a big kid, so, you know, I'm like kind of Ricky size trying to stand up for the kids getting bullied and shooting my mouth off, you know, whatnot.
Right.
And he didn't pull back any punches, but the reveal, I always thought it was Ricky up until the point there at the end, because like I was starting to say here before I like lost my train of thought, I thought it was too obvious that Angela, you know, because here's this weird chick who's not saying much. She's like bug-eyed and shit. And throughout the whole movie, it was just like, you know, you're watching, it's like, no, it'd be too freaking out. And then you find out it is him. That's what I found the ending to be most shocking, because I truly thought it was the other kid. You know, I was with the old guy. I was like, yeah, you know, because he's defending his cousin, you know, she's being picked on and whatnot.
So let me get this straight. That's what you found most shocking about the ending. Not that there is a penis on Angela.
Well, him. No, I was shocked by it was her, him. That's what I'm saying.
No, I know.
Yeah, I was shocked by that because I thought it was the other kid the whole time. So yes, right. That's what I'm saying. Like the movie holds up because of that shocking ending. It's like holy crap, because I didn't think it was that obvious, you know, but they do really make it obvious throughout the whole film that she is the killer.
Yes. And I actually, the first time I watched it, I was sort of leaning towards Megan. Because obviously she's got that attitude, she's got that feistiness in her. She picked up Angela up on her shoulder, ran her down to the water, chucked her in the water. So I never actually thought it was Ricky. I was leaning more towards not Megan, sorry. Not Megan. What the fuck? Why'd I say Megan? What the fuck is Judy? Yeah, Judy. I thought it was Judy. Judy.
Yeah.
She's the main bully.
She's the main bully. I mean, she's that kind of the
right.
head,
Yeah.
I don't know what you call a head bully. But,
Sorry.
She's the one who's really going after
right.
Angela.
Sorry. Yeah, no, not Megan. Megan's the one that wants to fuck the old man. I thought that it was Judy. I was always leaning towards Judy as being the killer because she had that attitude and she had sort of that thing about her, and she picked Angela up and threw her in the water, and I was always sort of leaning towards that. And then
but they do get you with it, which that's what really makes the movie, and it makes the movie still worth watching to this day. As cheesy as it is, I mean, it's super cheesy on the all-time cheesiest. Like,
oh yeah,
Meg's death in the shower. It's like so horribly. She's like, she looks like she's taking a crap, man. She's like,
but here's what's even funnier: when she's in the shower, pretend this is a bar of soap. When she's in the shower and she's going like this with the soap, she's not even washing herself. She's just kind of like, she's just going like this. And she's got this, I guess the director was like, hey, just hum, sing a tune, something. So instead of being Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously, I wish I had you all alone, and actually sing something that is non-existent. I forget the tune now, but it's the same like 3 or 4 beats. It's like, da 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 da. Like, it's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. There's nothing there. Then when she backs up and you can tell that she's getting ready for the knife because she just sort of steps back into the wall like, she's ready, and then she's I mean,
it almost sounds like at the very end she's about to go, ooh. You know what I mean? Like she's like literally sound like she's getting to that point of climax, and she's like, ooh.
Right.
It's so bad. I mean, but it's the bad that makes it good.
Yeah, and it's a movie that was made for what, $600,000, and you're dealing with a lot of kids who weren't exceptional actors to begin with, and it's a cheesy horror movie, which like I said, if it wasn't for the ending, it would not. I don't believe it would have entered the pop culture consciousness in the terms of horror.
It would have fallen off the radar.
It's the ending that makes it. I mean, imagine if you found out that it was Judy doing the killing the whole time, or Ricky doing the killing the whole time, and Angela, maybe she saved the day. It was the quiet girl that you think is the killer, but the quiet girl actually ends up saving the day. Okay, cute little movie, right? Hey, that's kind of cool. But I mean, cool. But the ending it is now is what makes everybody goes, oh, Sleepaway Camp, on the fucking, I mean, that's what does it, So it's because it's largely just a run of the mill, poor man's Ernest Goes to Camp. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but it definitely has
Ernest Goes to Camp. I love that fucking movie, by the way.
Yeah, so do I.
Hey, we should do an Ernest show.
Yeah, we should. Ernest was a big part of our childhood. I mean, I named a character after him, one of his characters.
Yes, and I began recording my voice at the age of 6 years old on my mother's turquoise boombox, eating Ritz crackers and drinking a glass of milk, and just recording myself going, "Hey, Vern, what's going on, Vern?" I swear to God, I was like 6 years. That was the first time I'd ever heard my voice, played back to me, and I'd be laughing to myself, and just it was hilarious. So I'm a big fan of Ernest. So we should do an Ernest show. That would be fun.
I definitely concur with that. But no, I mean, I like the setting. It's almost like it would almost, if you could take certain elements of Sleepaway Camp and kind of merge it with like the first 2 Friday the 13th films, you'd almost have like the best Friday the 13th ever, because the camp and atmosphere I really liked. That's what camp was really like. That was the one thing I always felt with the first 2 Friday the 13th films. Granted, I love both films, but you missed that element of kids. These are counselors who are supposed to be watching over kids. Right. In fact, it wasn't until part 6, and I think it's only part 6 is the only time to ever incorporate any little kids in a summer camp, what's supposed to be a summer camp setting anyways.
Right.
So yeah, I thought if you took those elements of Sleepaway Camp and you kind of blended it with Friday the 13th, you would have a really great overall slasher film. But yeah, who was the other death? So you had the kid in the boat, which that was good, and the snake coming out of his mouth. The cook was so over dramatic, though you almost kind of cheer because the cook is such a douchebag.
That's right.
You kind of like how he gets it.
You have Judy getting killed by the curling iron and the pillow.
Yes. Now it's never. Does she put it up her woohoo? Is it in her stomach? Like they never really implied where Judy gets to sleep the curling iron.
No, they don't,
because her hand's covering the face.
Yes.
So you don't hear her screaming.
Maybe it was in her vahuhu. Maybe that's what it was.
And then she decapitates the kid at the end, right?
That's right. And that was cool too, as if she's
and the old man gets it in the throat with the arrow.
Oh, the arrow. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Fuck it. That's right. Also, too. Now, I have
the guy with the bees. Yes, thanks, Michelle, in the chat. That the guy with the bees. That's one of the deaths that I have a hard time watching. I honestly, I got to say, that's one of the kills in any horror movie I have a hard time watching. One, because I have a phobia of bees. I just can't stand bees, but. The kid actually really fucking sells that scene. Like, he literally sounds like he's getting really stung, and he's like screaming off the top of his lungs, like that high octave there. And then when he hits the floor, like, of all the kills, that's probably the B one. Again, thanks, Michelle. That's probably my favorite kill scene in Sleepaway Camp.
Cool. I would say, I also want to give a shout out to the police officer's mustache, because there's the mustache he had at the beginning of the movie, which was which looked like a real mustache, and then towards the end of the movie, he comes out and he has got the biggest fucking fakest mustache I've ever seen. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, right here. Take a look at this. Holy snapping crap! This is got to be the worst fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. Yes, I think so. This is just absolutely now the picture on the left, is, I believe, his real mustache, and the picture on the right is his fake mustache, which obviously I believe there was some reshoots that probably happened, and he shaved his mustache off, but they obviously had to do some reshoots, and he had to come back, but you couldn't get a better mustache than that. It looks like fucking electrical tape. That's right, Nathan in the chat room says it looks like 2 pieces of electrical tape. It's absolutely atrocious. My God, that was horrible. Just absolutely awful. Awful mustache.
Hey, I'm sure back in 1983 when they were making this, they were probably like, God, no one's ever going to pick up on this. I mean, I'm sure that's exactly what they thought. They'd be, who would be, dissecting films like this one day, and sure enough, we're here.
I guess so, but when I looked
that's worse than Halloween 4's Surfer Michael Myers moment.
Oh,
that's bad.
Is it ever? It's so bad. I wanted to. Oh, I guess I can't add. I wanted to add that. Yeah, it's so bad. It's so bad. One more look at this here.
Porno videos from the 70s.
Yes.
And then you got this other one that just looks like he's trying to impersonate Burt Reynolds or freaking Burt Reynolds was one who had the mustache, and Tom Selleck was also a mustache guy.
Listen, mustaches were big in the 1980s and the 1970s.
I know. Yeah, they were.
They were big.
Thank God. I hope that trend never fucking comes back.
I know. Okay, so what's your general consensus on both April Fool's Day and Sleepaway Camp, Tony?
Oh man! First of all, and I did see a lot of people mention this in the chat room. If you haven't seen either one of the films, highly recommend. First of all, highly recommend adding it to your collection. You're not going to go wrong. So if you're collecting digitally or Blu-ray, DVD, or if you can, like I have both films on VHS and I have them digitally, and they're great for your collection. They're fun. If that was the one thing that I took away from watching these films here recently, again, like I forgot how fun they were to just kind of, laugh at the genre that we love so much, that you love, that I love. It's you cannot go wrong with either one of these films, and having it to your collection. And I think you'll enjoy it. So for those of you in the chat room who haven't seen neither one of these, add it today and take it for what it is. It's the 80s. The special effects are what they are for low budget, but if you can look past that and see it for its charm, you'll enjoy both of these films.
I could not agree more. I think that's a great general consensus. And look, I mean, the bottom line is here they are B cheesy horror movies, and for that are beloved by many in the pop culture primarily because of their endings. But like Tony said, I mean, there is a certain charm in both of them. And if you can prepare yourself for that kind of a movie, it'll kill a rainy Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely.
Or even if you just want to sit down on a Saturday night and watch a couple of cheesy B horror movies that aren't too sort of intense, that are a little lighter. You can't go wrong with April Fool's Day or Sleepaway Camp. And I mean, I can't say, I think I probably prefer April Fool's Day over Sleepaway Camp.
Sure. Same here.
But I like, if I was going to watch one, I'd probably watch April Fool's Day. Because I also love the concept a bit more. I've always wanted to make a horror movie where there's like a deserted island, or not a deserted island, but I think I talked about that on our show last week about the lighthouse and the island and bringing people to an island, blah blah blah. So I there's a sense of like, I'm like, oh, I like this kind of this premise. With Sleepaway Camp, it is what it is, and it'll kill a rainy day. But yeah, I agree. But I cannot understate the importance of, it's the two endings that really make both of these movies.
Oh, absolutely. The two endings are great. I mean, obviously, if you guys haven't seen it, you stuck with us during the stream, you knew going into it we were going to talk about spoilers. Of course, these films are well over 30 years old, but it's still worth watching it. Like, again, like I said, you rewatch a movie like April Fool's Day, and again, I what I took away from it was like, I forgot just how. When I say good now, I'm not like saying it, I'm not putting it on Nightmare on Elm Street and, Halloween and, I'm not putting it there. It's good to the point of like, it's a fun film. It's an enjoyable movie. Like you said, a rainy Saturday afternoon or a Saturday night, you're just kicking back. You want to have a lighthearted horror movie with you and your girl or whatever. That's a movie I would probably, like you, I would put in April Fool's Day first before Sleepaway Camp. Same way. Plus because Amy Steele is there. I like her.
Yeah,
that helps.
If you are somebody that likes the visual aesthetic and feeling of 80s low budget horror movies, if you like that production value, if you like that feeling and you like that look and that style, and I love watching those old 80s horror, then you haven't checked these two out, well then you've got to check these out. Because they are ripe with 80s cheese and look and dress and feel, and it's like I said, I mean, April Fool's Day is essentially a poor man's Friday the 13th, essentially. So,
April Fool's Day is if John Hughes ever got drunk or high one day and made a movie. That's what April Fool's Day is. It is like John Hughes got drunk and stoned and said, "I'm going to make a fucking horror movie."
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far, but I get what you're saying.
It has that tone. It has that, like, you can kind of almost you can feel the 80s when you watch April Fool's. More so, I would say, than Sleepaway Camp. You can really feel the 80s in April Fool's.
Yeah, Sleepaway Camp. If you told me it was 1978, I'd buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. It has that 70s, possibly 80s, because it's so close. But God, man, April Fool's Day, it's 80s on fucking steroids and on cylinders. The outfits and everything, it's great.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. Hey, should we head over to the chat room?
Yes, sir. Let's go over to the chat room. But first, because I promised this guy last night that I would ask this question on the show. I want to say his name because he's got the greatest name ever. Where did your name go? Rich Homie Rich Homie Kadweezy. Rich Homie Kadweezy. I know I just butchered that, bro. But anyways, he asked me this question on Instagram last night, and it was such a great question that I actually asked him, like, hey, you want me to ask this on the show tomorrow with Dave because it's a really good question? He said, yeah, sure. So, Rich, here you go, bro. What do you think about James McAvoy playing Dr. Loomis possibly in a future Halloween reboot, if ever they do a reboot? And I thought that question was really good because I thought for a moment, I was like, let me picture now James McAvoy, 59 years old, and he's older at like that same age that Donald Pleasance was. He'd be a pretty damn good Dr. Loomis. I would not turn away from that idea of him playing Loomis again with James McAvoy, not now, James McAvoy years from now when he's 59 years old.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I mean, James McAvoy is our age. He's 40.
Right.
So in order to wait till he's 59, you're gonna be waiting 19 years for a Halloween reboot. So I mean, yes, he with a shaved head. Does he look like Dr. Loomis? Sure. Could he do the accent? Obviously.
Right.
Considering that's his native tongue. So I don't think that's a bad choice. Yeah, I mean, certainly I think that, I don't think that's a bad choice. There's so many other variables that I'd have to think about, but I mean, the look, bald head, goatee, yeah, I mean, he's got the look. He's got the look. Whether or not he would be right for Loomis, I don't know, but certainly there's a high possibility, but he's only 40. So if you want a Loomis if that doesn't bother you, could do it now, but he's certainly not as old as Loomis was.
Yeah.
Or Donald Pleasance was. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea.
Good question, man.
It is a good question. Yep. All right. Super chat coming in for Frank Riker. Thank you, Frank. D&T, what's worse, being stuck on a deserted road with no cell service in your car or finding a hair in the most expensive dinner you ever brought? I would say the first one. Stuck on a deserted road with no cell service in your car. Although my car has satellite SOS built into it. So if I have no cell service, I can hit a button and it'll get help through satellite. But I would say that would be the first one would be worse because the hair I can just say, bring me another one.
Yeah, the hair thing, like that's my other phobia. I hate people touching I very rarely do I eat out. Rarely. I like cooking my own food, my own dinners and stuff like that. I'm very particular about who's touching my food. It's just a weird thing for me. So that probably the hair in my food would probably really freak me the hell out. I've been in like isolated Georgia locations and my cell phone has crapped out on me. So I've been there before. So I know what that feeling's like. The food thing. Yeah, no, that would, even thinking about it, it bothers me.
Oh, there you go. All right, let's see here. Kenny525 says, hey, Dave, do you think you could ever do a Jeepers Creepers show? I want to hear you and Tony break that movie down. Jeepers Creepers, the first one? Maybe. I don't know if I don't really have an interest in doing the series, but the first one, maybe. I don't know. Tony, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, unfortunately, there's a dark cloud that obviously is overshadowing that movie and franchise. So you do have to tread very carefully on that, especially nowadays, you know what I mean? Because definitely don't condone or support what the director did and what the director was involved with. And it's unfortunate because the first Jeepers Creepers, I'm sure most know, that's based on a true story. There's look it up on if you guys have never seen the YouTube video, there's a news story or someone was doing some type of interview or whatever based on this old couple who saw some weird guy throwing a body down in a church thing or whatever. That whole opening scene that you see with Justin Long and his sister in the church and them seeing the creeper and all that stuff, that's all like based on like true events that they obviously took it to another level with Jeepers Creepers. It's a good movie. It's just unfortunately, it's overshadowed by a big overshadow, which, I think that's something Dave and I would have to seriously talk about and, figure out how we would want to attack it. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I can separate I can separate the two, because I'm talking about the movie, but I understand that if it's something that is a touchy subject because you don't want to give,
Yes.
promotion to somebody's film who did that, I respect that. And
Yep.
I understand that. So I don't have any issues with it either way. It's certainly what he did. What he did was disgusting, and I am even more disgusted that he was allowed to come back and make a third movie.
Exactly.
That disgusts me even more.
It's tough because it's unfortunate because like how Dave talks about Insidious, and I'm not the biggest Insidious fan, although I would we should do a stream on that one day.
Absolutely.
I feel that same. I did, past tense, feel that same way about Jeepers Creepers, the first film. I saw the second one, I was like, I'm over it. But the first one was, it was decent.
First one was all right.
Yeah.
Look, that's the thing, is that giving credit where credit is due is not an endorsement for something else. I mean, if Hitler was a painter and he made a beautiful painting, I can say that's a beautiful painting. I mean, it is. It's nice. That doesn't. I'm not endorsing what Hitler has done or what kind of man he was. And there's a difference between separating the artist from their personal life. And just because you are a genius or a talented whatever you are doesn't mean that you can't be a horrible human being in other aspects of your life. I mean, look at Bill Cosby. So I mean, Bill Cosby was a great actor. The Cosby Show,
funny comedian too,
hilarious comedian.
Early Cosby,
great, extremely talented.
Yep.
That's not an endorsement for what he's done, but a lot of people have difficulty separating that, and because they think of it as an endorsement, and it's not. It's not. There's a lot of talented people out there that do horrible things.
Yeah.
It's not, talent is not, it's completely separate. All right, let's
change the subject. Happy Pace. David, have you guys seen Sleepaway Camp 2? If so, thoughts? I have not seen 2 or 3. I know there are sequels. I just didn't really interest me to see either one of them. Dave?
Yeah, no, I haven't either. I haven't seen any of the rest of the Sleepaway Camp films. I wasn't a big enough fan of Sleepaway Camp to warrant me going to watch the others. I thought Sleepaway Camp was sort of, okay, it's done. Like, what am I going to see in the second and third movies that really at the end of the day is just recycling more of the same shit?
Yep.
So, no, I haven't.
Ooh, Mark McCatherine, Dave and Tony, what is better? Halloween 2, I'm assuming you mean 81 Halloween 2, or Elm Street 2? Ooh. You're a fan of Elm Street 2, aren't you?
I'm a big fan. Big fan. What is better? I'm going to say that realistically, I think Halloween 2 is probably, there's several ways of looking at what you mean by what's better. I'm going to say that Halloween 2 is probably better because of how it fits into its the movie that came prior to it, right? Because Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 are essentially one movie with 2 separate parts. It's like, my analogy is like way back in the day, Tony will remember this, when you'd rent a 3-hour movie from, the video store, or you'd buy The Green Mile or Titanic or whatever it was on VHS. It would come with 2 VHS tapes. Yep. And when one VHS tape was done, you'd take it out and you'd pop in. That's sort of like what Halloween 1 and 2 is kind of. It's essentially one movie with 2 separate parts. And because I think it's far inferior to Halloween, but because the ingenious move from Carpenter to write it that way, it feels very sort of together. It feels like you're following the same sort of story, although there are distinct differences. With A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I love that movie, but it is very different from the first movie. And you could say that it is a step down in many respects, but a step up, not really it's like a step up and over a little bit in other respects. I think as scary as Freddy is in A Nightmare on Elm Street 1, which is my favorite version of him, he is fucking frightening in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. And there's some good things in Elm Street 2. The homosexuality undertones and sort of what he's beginning to struggle with, and the symbolism, and the sort of just rub some wrong people the wrong way. Not
necessarily too early. Again, you're talking early 80s when that, or close to mid 80s.
85.
Yeah, so mid 80s.
Yeah. It just was like, well, wait a minute. Like, there's no Nancy. There's no. It was very sort of. It was a sequel, but it had nothing to do with the movie that was prior. So, although I love Elm Street 2 a lot, I think if you were just basing it on what feels kind of, what's the better kind of sequel, maybe it's probably Halloween 2. I don't know, Tony. Do you feel that way?
No, I'll answer Halloween 2 here in a second, but to piggyback off your Elm Street 2, it's third on my list. Obviously, the original is my favorite, then 3, then 2. 2, I think, because of that factor of, look, and the guy who, Mark, whatever his name is, who played Jesse, great job. He was really good. And yes, I 100% agree. Freddy was just... Freddy was on a whole nother level of evil in part 2. The mask was really good. I did like the mask in part 2. Minus the one, I think it's the one and only scene that Robert Englund is not Freddy.
Mean the makeup? Because obviously it wasn't a mask. It was actual prosthetic makeup. Yeah.
I meant the makeup on Englund. Even the one scene there where it's robot Freddy walking in the shower, which is not Robert Englund. It turns out to be someone else because, New Line Cinema and Robert Shea, the genius, thought, we don't need Robert Englund. Yeah, boy, they found that one out real quick that you do.
Oh, yes, you do.
But no, you're right. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is a really good... it's hard to put it past Dream Warriors. It really, because I really love Dream Warriors.
Yeah, for me, it's a scary fucking movie.
It is,
and it is, and I've grown to like Elm Street 2 more and more. So, but anyway, we could go off on a tangent there. But
with Halloween 2, everything you said, I would probably give it a little bit more of an edge because obviously is continuing from the night before, and they did a really good job of. I feel like even though Carpenter didn't direct it, and it was our buddy there, I almost called him Rosenthal, right?
Yeah. Rosenbaum, yes.
Rosenthal. It still felt like it was Carpenter directing it. I didn't feel like there was a disconnect there. You can get the sense in Nightmare on Elm Street 2 that this isn't Wes Craven directing.
Absolutely. And Elm Street 2 also had the luxury of John Carpenter writing it.
Yes.
He was on set. And also Dean Cundy was the DP. So, I mean, the visual aesthetic feels very similar to the cinematography in the first movie. Now, there's some differences under the direction of Rick Rosenthal. But yeah, it feels like a legit sequel. So I agree.
Yeah.
Super chat from Frank Riker. Thank you, Frank. D&T, who would you like to write the forward page in your autobiography book? Oh, God. I don't know. I have no idea. Somebody who doesn't like me. Somebody who doesn't like me.
That's good. Actually,
I would like somebody to write the forward in my autobiography who does not like me.
God, that's really good, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Danielle Harris. How about
that? Danielle Harris. Woo!
Danielle Harris. Forever my scream queen. Because that's hard to top, man, what you just said. Because thinking about that, it's actually really fucking good. Because, I don't. Do you read forwards in books? Sometimes I do. Sometimes it just depends. Sometimes I'm like, fuck it, I'm skipping it.
Right.
But yeah, someone who doesn't like you. That's a good one. I like that.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here.
Mason Locker, should there be a Scream 5? Yeah, man, I just posted. In fact, it's my now most liked photograph on Instagram with over almost 800 likes. I posted a Ghostface picture yesterday, and I shouted out to Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox and David Arquette. I said, come on, guys, give us one more. And yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing one more Scream movie. I enjoy all 4 of them. I'm in the very, very small minority who likes all 4 of them. I'm a big Scream fan. I love them. It's tough because Wes Craven obviously wouldn't be a part of it. It'd be the first one he didn't direct. But I feel like with Kevin Williamson, Williamson, I think is the guy who wrote it, and has been writing all of them for Wes Craven.
That's a great fucking photo. Holy Jesus. Your Ghostface photo.
With the guy doing one more, making the one sign, and he's kind of toying with the knife. Like, come on, guys, we got one more.
But I took it like he was going, shh.
Okay, I didn't even think of it like that. I said, dude, I told him when I took the shot, I said, I want to do this shot. And I said, I'm going to do a shout out to Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox and David Arquette, but I want you to hold up the one finger as if it's one more.
So great.
But okay, you're interpreting it as this. I didn't even think of that until you just said that.
It's because of the placement of the finger. If you had the guy like this away from his face, going like this, right? Then I would have been like, oh yeah, he's holding up a one. But because he's like this, I thought he was going shh. Which works.
Which totally works. I didn't even think of that.
That's a great shot. If you guys are not following Tony Michael on Instagram right now, the link to his Instagram is in the description. You can check it out. Don't lose this window, folks, but it should open up in another window, and check out his most recent Ghostface photo, and it's just terrific. What a great, I thought might be because I love the lighting coming in. I love that he's sitting in the chair.
Lighting. Yep.
Yes, it's so good. Oh, that's so good. I love it. Fucking right. And that's what I get from it is shh.
That's super cool. What do you think? I mean, I know you're not as a big Scream fan as I am, but would you want one more? I mean, or do you not really?
It's difficult because I liked the first Scream. I didn't mind the second Scream. The third Scream I wasn't a big fan of. The fourth Scream was fun in that Halloween 2018 way. You know, where it's like you're getting the band back together again, and it had been a decade, and, you know, it feels like a bit of a swan song, and it feels like revisiting and reminiscing with some old friends. But to continue on again, because we're almost a decade out from that movie now.
That is true.
That it's you know, the world's changed again, and you know, maybe, sure, but I just think its gimmick and its shtick is running a little thin, and I think the world has changed so much that the hello Sydney and I'm on my phone and you know, like there's so many other things. Maybe they can figure out a way to utilize the current technology, you know, in terms of that. But to utilize, I don't know. I just think it was so reliant on the technology of 1996.
Sure.
In terms of no cell phones and just your home phone and your landline and your, you know, that maybe there's one more somewhere, but I really, to be honest with you, I couldn't care less if they made another one. I think it's, you know, maybe reinvent yourself, and, you know, you make a Scream movie, but it's like a remake. It's like it's relevant to today's technology, but you make it smart and you make it fun.
I think we ought to nip it, because I think we ought to do a Scream one night. Scream one night.
All right, we'll do it
on the show. We'll do a whole night on Scream and everything that Wes did with that and his reasons behind it. But
we'll do it. Super chat, Frank Riker. Thank you, Frank. Says, best tattoo you saw, and are you guys getting more? Best tattoo I saw. You know, probably something. There's a lot of wonderful tattoo artists out there. Shout out to the guy that does, you know, the work on me as well. But I think, like, people have often asked me if I was going to get like a Michael Myers or horror tattoo or something. This is my thought on it, is that I admire those who get those kind of tattoos, because the artwork is just incredible. And there's no denying it, that the artwork is incredible. However, personally for me, I don't know if that is something that I would want to do on me, because it's very sort of, first of all, it's a lot of money, right? And I don't know if I want to be spending my money on that in particular. It's a lot of time, a lot of sittings, and it's a lot of space taken, you know, up. Like, for me, I've always been of the mindset that tattoos have to have a special meaning for me. And I love Michael Myers, and I love Freddy, and I love Jason, and I love horror, and I love movies, but I don't know if I want him on me forever. But kudos to those who do, because some of the work that I see, I'm just like, that's fucking amazing. Like I'm not like, oh, that's dumb. I think it's awesome. It's just, for me, I don't know if I'd have the guts to pull the trigger and get all of that. So, like, you know, maybe if I could just have it put there as a test and kind of see how do I like that, you know, maybe then I could be like, okay, let's do it. But just, I don't know, it's a bit tricky. So my tattoos tend to have more personal meaning for me, because they're there forever. Right. Yeah. You know, and you know, the 79, the M31, the Believe, the Passion, the Feather Pen, the Hummingbird, that all has personal meaning to me. So that's kind of how I see it. But I would say the best I've ever seen is probably some like crazy Elm Street tattoo blended in with Michael Myers and Jason, and you're just like, fucking amazing. Like, holy, like, the artwork is incredible. I don't know, Tony, how do you see it?
No, it's funny because I'm the same way. I've backed out of 2 Michael Myers. I was gonna do it, and then I backed out of it because of the only 2 like logos I have that people would know are Deadpool and Harley Quinn. That's it. That's the only, like, you know, from that genre. And it's simple because, see, with Harley Quinn's diamond logo on here, it matches like the geometric pattern I have here, the geometric pattern, because I'm into geometric patterns. That's a geometric pattern back there. Another geometric. I just find geometric shapes and patterns very interesting, and nobody ever really put that as part of their tattoo work. So that's where my approach was. Or like here, you see the old school Nikon camera. Right. This is my logo that for my business. Now, my business name for my commercial photography is Anthony Michael. It's not really much different. Just instead of Tony Michael, it's just Anthony. Yeah, and my mother designed that logo for me. So that means a lot to me because it was my mom who made that logo design. And then, like you, I got the 79 on my knuckles, you know, and then I got this little calligraphy thing that a buddy of mine came up with, and I got it on my hand, and then the anchor, which everybody has like an anchor or some sorts and whatnot. But yeah, like I was gonna do Myers, and then like I was just like, I love, you guys know I love Halloween and rocking even Danielle Harris, even though she's not Jamie Halloween, but you know, family. I don't know. I don't know if I can totally go there and get Michael tattooed on me. I've had a few really good, I was trying to find it, but I can't find the sketch anymore. I've had a few sketches done that were really good. And I mean, it was the day of, I'm walking in and I was just like, dude, take my deposit. I can't do it. Cause I would never do that to an artist. You know, if I'm booking his time and whatnot, I'd be like, you know, take it. And then in fact, I gave him a little bit extra too, because, you know, he's losing out money for the day. But I think it's because of the exact same reason what you just said on why I can't totally commit and do Michael or Jason or Freddy on me, because as much I love that stuff, tattoos to me, because it's on me forever, it's got to mean something. You know what I mean? Like my camera obviously is going to mean something because I'm a photographer. Right. The logo means something because, you know, my mother made that, and, you know, other stuff, birth years and other things that are on me. There's reasons behind it. Right. I love Michael, man, but I just don't know. I don't know if I can ever pull the trigger and do it. Maybe I might one day when I'm like 80 and I'm like, fuck it, I'm done. Yeah. Put it on my calf.
Like I, you know, and sometimes, and no offense to people who may have this, you know, but sometimes I'll see people getting the thorn tattoo, you know, on their wrist for Michael, and they're like, yeah, and I'm just like, dude, really? You got the thorn tattoo? Like, I'm just thinking, like that coolness, unless you are just, you know, everybody is different to each their own. But I just imagine that coolness is going to wear off pretty quick. Like eventually be like, fucking thorn tattoo on my wrist. You know
exactly.
I mean? Like I'm just kind of like, what the hell do I got the thorn tattoo on my wrist for?
Because
like,
do you regret any of yours? Because I don't. I love all mine.
No, because hang on, I got a thing on, but no, because it got the M31 here, which the M stands for McRae, and the 31 you could say, oh, it's because of Halloween, isn't it? Sure, by default, but really it's actually a very symbolic number. Mm-hmm. And when you combine M31, that's the astrological sort of code for the galaxy of Andromeda. And I've always been fascinated with the galaxy of Andromeda. And then of course I got the feathered pen here with my it says dad there, and that's actually my dad's penmanship. Okay. That's actually his signature. Dad. Yes, and my dad was a writer, so obviously that, it was that. And then this is just like a brick with carved into the
I
brick
was wondering what that was. I've always
the
wondered
word,
what it. Okay.
carved into the brick is the word passion.
Nice.
Passion. And then on this side, I got 79, which of course is the year I was born.
Yep.
And then I got the hummingbird here, which is in honor of my mother. And
Nice.
then I got another brick there, and carved in that is the word believe. So I got believe and passion.
Very cool.
So they all have very personal meaning. So to suddenly just get like Michael Myers tattooed up here, it would almost throw the whole symmetry off.
Yeah.
And it would be kind of like, I don't know. And would I want Michael on my, as good and fucking as amazing as it would be, do I want him on me? You know, like I love Halloween, guys, but I don't need him on me. A t-shirt's fine. A t-shirt's good.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like it's good. That's good.
Well, no,
I'm good with
like
a t-shirt. I don't need to shower with him.
No, because this is the same thing that you have with the bricks. Is that all I did was I took for those out there who've seen the Boondock Saints. Have you seen the Boondock Saints?
Years ago.
Okay, so yeah, this is their cross, the Celtic cross.
Yeah.
And instead of having whatever the Spanish word is, it's artuitus something or whatever that and it's not Spanish, Latin, I believe. I changed it out and just put faith, hope, and love. Same thing, inspirational thing. So like that thing alone. It's like I got all these inspirational stuff with the exception of Deadpool because come on, it's Deadpool. What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. I could certainly see myself getting a little tattoo, maybe up here, something of maybe the Halloween 1 pumpkin or something, but it's very small, or maybe like I could see that I could entertain that idea, but never like a sleeve of like horror characters or anything like that. Super chat from Ethan LeBlanc. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you very much. Hey, Dave, highly recommend watching the YouTube short fan film Darth Maul Apprentice. I know you're not a prequel guy, but would love to know your thoughts. It's very well done. Take care. Isn't that an older fan film? I could have sworn I've seen that. I think
so. I think I've seen that too.
I think I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's older. I think I've seen it, and I thought it was well done.
Yep. Colin Altman, hope I said your name right. Dave and Tony, what is your favorite action adventure movie?
Action adventure movie. Well, if you're going to say, what are my favorite action adventure movie? I'm probably going to say the Indiana Jones films, the original, Raiders, Temple of Doom. Yep. That's action adventure. It's classic, Harrison Ford, but there's so many good ones, action adventure. Even I gotta say, even the Nicolas Cage National Treasure movies were kind of fun.
Yeah, that's fun. I agree with you on that. I do like both. I was hoping they were going to do a third one because I do like both of those films. I think they're fun films. The Goonies for sure is one of my favorite. Because it is. I guess you could call.
I was going to say Goonies, but it's so like obvious
kid adventure. Goonies. You could even say Jaws has a little bit of a adventure in it with them going out to sea to chase the shark down. That's kind of adventurous.
I wouldn't classify it as an action adventure movie though.
No, I know.
But definitely the Goonies, Adventures in Babysitting, maybe a little bit in there.
Yeah, Adventures in Babysitting. E.T. Would you think E.T. would be adventure?
Sure, adventure, science fiction adventure.
Yeah.
Also too, the Jurassic Park. Yeah. Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile.
Those are great. I love those movies. Michael Douglas, Danny DeVito, and what's her name? Catherine. Oh my God, it's Catherine something. I know it's Catherine something. Guys, help me out in the chat room. It's Catherine something.
Is it? I thought it was.
Yeah, because she plays a murdering psycho mom in a movie later on in the 90s.
Oh, you're thinking of
Kathleen
Turner. Kathleen Turner.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Oh, it's not Kathleen Turner that plays in Jewel of the Nile and Romancing the Stone. It's not, is it?
Yes, it is.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, because she also
Kathleen
plays.
Turner.
Yeah, Kathleen Turner. So and because she plays in a movie later on in like the 90s. Where she's like a serial killer mom.
Yes, and she was cute back in the day.
Oh, back in the day,
and when you see her now, whoa, man,
not good.
She's had a tough life. Let's see here. Super chat, Frank Riker. Thank you, Frank. Would you go see a Tango and Cash sequel? Fuck yeah.
Stallone and Russell one more time. Why
Yeah,
not?
why not?
You
That'd
know?
be fun.
Yeah.
That's a good fun.
I'm surprised. I mean,
buddy
with
cop film.
Stallone, with Rambo, Rocky, and
Oh, Mike
reuniting
Deck.
with
Hello.
Schwarzenegger here, that I wonder if he's pitched the idea to Russell and say, "Hey, yo, what did you think? One more time, one more time."
Yeah, I want to do that funny stuff. Come here, Veda. Come here. Come on.
Do it one more time.
Come see everybody. My cat just
I
walked
can't
in.
do voices.
Come on. Come see everybody, Veda. My cat just came in. Come on. Don't be shy. She's looking at me like, fuck you. All right. Let's see here.
Patrick Olinger, what if Jason, Freddy, and Michael were real? Well, I can safely tell you that some of it is based on true stuff. I mean, I would safely say a lot of horror is based on reality. Wes Craven even says that in the if you guys
100%.
haven't seen it, in the Never Sleep Again documentary, he based Freddy on real life stuff. Like there was an old man that walked down an alleyway where he was living that looked up into his window and scared him so much that was the mold he used for Freddy Krueger. And then I believe it was story clippings that he saw in the newspaper of Asian kids, I believe, or Vietnamese kids dying in their sleep violently. That's where the origin of the whole dying in your dreams. And then Michael and Jason, I mean, shit like that. Again, babysitter killers.
But I mean, Michael Myers, the character was based off of, when John Carpenter was in university, I think, right? Or something like that. And he went
something like that, yeah.
Clinic. I think it was when he was at USC. And he went
He went to a clinic. Yes,
he went to a clinic and he saw a boy that looked like he was, looking past the wall and had, a lot of horror is taken from many different experiences that people have. I mean, even the major movie that I'm writing and I've been writing for years is based on something that I went through, and because a lot of you have to take some creative liberties into effect and you still have to entertain, but a lot of horror is based on stuff and it's like a puzzle piece, right? That's cool. I like that. That's really cool. That, that creepy guy, that I used to see on a bench every Thursday. And then all of a sudden you use him as the template to a horror character, and shit like that happens all the time. So,
yeah, super chats, few of them.
All right, let's see here. Oh yeah, Grave Warmer says, who would you be more fucked in a situation with? The Birds or the Underwoods? The Birds. Now the Underwoods, are you talking about the Underwoods from House of Cards? And the Birds, I don't know what the Birds are from. Who are the Birds from? Are they probably from a show that I haven't watched? I'm assuming, Grave, that the Underwoods, you mean the Underwoods from House of Cards, and the Birds I don't know. Are the Birds from House of Cards too? Help elaborate. I'm not sure. Chris Baber, thank you, Chris. My friend lives near me in the biz and worked on Goonies. Had pizza with him yesterday and showed me his Kurt Russell The Thing movie jacket. Very cool. That's awesome. Would love to know what your buddy did on the Goonies. Was he a PA? Was he I'd love to know what he did. Chris follows up with using the actual movie, burn marks and all. Oh, very cool. Very cool. That's some cool shit. Want to see some... oh, no, I guess it's his jacket, right? Well, if you meet with him again, try and get some photos because it'd be awesome to see that. I'd love to see that. That's really cool stuff. Thanks, Chris, for the super chats. Appreciate it. Ozark and House of Cards. Okay, Ozark I haven't seen.
Love the Ozark. They filmed that right up the road from me at Lake Lanier.
Okay, well, then Grave Warmer's super chat, you'd be able to answer this because you've seen both. I've seen House of Cards, but I haven't seen Ozark. Who would be more fucked in a situation with, the Birds or the Underwoods?
Well, I have never seen House of Cards, so I don't know that part for first part of the question.
There you go.
Because I had to put everything what you said and then what that question was, and I was like, wait a second, hold on. I was like, no, I haven't seen House of Cards. Look, all I can say is I love the Ozark. I'm a big fan of Jason Bateman's. Grave, I wish I could answer that question for you, bro. But because I haven't seen House of Cards, I really can't give that an accurate answer. But I love the Ozark. It's a great show. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out on Netflix. Good shit.
Okay. Jake Messman says, opinions on Blue Velvet or other David Lynch films. I haven't seen Blue Velvet, and I'm trying to think of the David Lynch films I have seen. One second here. David.
No, I just want to make sure I say the right
Yes, that's what I want to make sure. Because
film.
I often get Lynch and Cronenberg mixed up.
Mixed up. Yeah, because I probably start shooting off David Cronenberg films and everyone in the chat room's like, that's the wrong one. Let's see here.
Well, okay, I've seen Eraserhead.
I've seen Eraserhead.
I liked Eraserhead. I liked Eraserhead. Blue Velvet, I have not seen. And
The Elephant Man from 1980s is really good. If you haven't seen that, and it's a really good film.
All right, I have not seen that. He's done a lot of shorts.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of shorts. He's kept himself going with a lot of short little films, which is great. Short films can be great. Oh, of course, he did the original Dune. So I mean,
yeah, Dune.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah. But I don't really watch a lot of
Mulholland Drive, which is.
Oh, did he do Mulholland Drive?
Yeah, Mulholland. That's another good one.
That's a good movie. That's
The Elephant Man. You should really watch. I'm telling you, you'll enjoy that. That's a good movie.
I'm going to. He did Mulholland Drive. That's with Naomi Watts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good movie. And also, I was driving on Mulholland Drive back in the fall, and that was the first thing I thought of when I was driving along it, actually, was that movie. Yeah. We had just come, we were in Laurel Canyon, and we had just driven up the road, and I believe it heads to Mulholland Drive, somewhere around there, I think, anyway. So that was cool. That's a good movie, Mulholland Drive.
I think we had a super chat from our buddy Chris Baber, man.
I answered both of them.
You did? Okay, cool. Just making sure.
No worries.
Let's see Frank, Frank, if you guys had Frank with the super chat, if you guys had kids, first of all, I will never have kids. That puts a kibosh on that one. Would you want them to get into show business? Hold on, let me back that up really quick, really here. I would date a woman who has kids, like kids who are now like teenagers and established. I don't think at my age, at 40 years old, I want to really start with the whole like, okay, changing diapers at 2 a.m. and all that stuff. No, not at 40. But if I met a woman who had kids and, teenagers, like I'm totally open to that. In fact, I've kind of opened up the door to that right now. We'll see. Planting the seeds, something might happen. Who knows?
Something might be brewing.
And she has a kid. So yeah, I'm totally okay with that. But I think I have accepted that that's the cards that were dealt for me, because honestly, I know what it was like for my sister, and I know what it's been like for my friends raising kids, and like I don't want to go through that at 40. I don't have the energy to do that. I mean, I basically work 7 days a week between doing my commercial photography 5 days a week, doing my horror themed shoot 2 or 3 days a week, doing this show on Sunday with Dave. There's just not enough time in the day, and then to try to raise kids, and parents who do that shit, I mean, honestly, and for all y'all who do that out there, fucking more power to you and hats off to you. I can't. Dave?
Well, I don't have kids, and but if I had kids, would I want them getting into show business? Well, I mean, I want them to do whatever makes them happy, and to understand that making a living in the entertainment industry is not easy. And so, but as long as they were, not freeloaders and were working hard and passionate, and if they had drive and a goal, and I know I'm setting the utopian example, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's really what it's all about: to have realistic expectations, to understand that it is show business, and that the glamour side of show business is very far and few between, and it all depends on what they want to do,
And they're just time consuming though too. Like I think about it, like I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning every day. I run for 8 miles, then do the job. Then I, like you, I work out at the gym 3 days a week, and I box twice a week. And I start thinking, like, where can I raise a kid throughout my entire day?
Oh yeah, kids.
Like, there's just no way I could do that. Like, thinking about it, I'm starting to have a panic attack right now. I'm like, no.
Yeah, kids are tough. Kids are tough. I'd be okay with it, but I would just do the best I could to set the realistic expectations of what it's all about. And working in the entertainment industry, I have a bit of maybe a leg up in that area, that I can sort of set those realistic expectations. But I mean, it's tough. It's not easy. It's definitely show business, and you're always reminded of it, you know?
Well, the thing that's kind of brewing, her daughter is getting into photography, and I basically I kept it real, and I said, look, you're going to hear a lot of no's, and it's going to take you a long time. You know, I'm very fortunate. There is not a lot of photographers out there who are in the position that I'm in that I managed to build a clientele to be Monday through Friday.
Right.
A lot of photographers are doing this shit on the weekends and stuff like that. Not only am I doing it on Monday through Friday, but I have it consistently Monday through Friday. I'm not going now, like those days of being in droughts, of no clients, no work, like that's far behind me now. I've worked for that, and it's taken me a very long time. So you have to have you need to have it right here that says, no is not a fucking option. I'm going to fucking do this no matter how long it fucking takes me to where I need to go. And that's pretty much what I told her, cut and dry. If you can deal with being rejected and hearing the no's and getting turned down for jobs and having to work shitty jobs all through your 20s until you can get to somewhere where you can stand on your own 2 feet with this, that's the reality that you're facing. And I feel bad for a lot of the young kids now who are getting into photography now, because I didn't have to do that. I was very fortunate at a time where photography wasn't really cool. In fact, we were the outcasts. We were the dorks. We were the nerds. Now all of a sudden it's cool to be a photographer. So.
Yep. No, I understand. Let's see here. I can get for you a couple. Steel Monkey says, Dave, how many movies do you think Harrison Ford has left in him?
As many as he can do. Why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're talking about high octane movies, probably not many. He doesn't really do. I mean, he's past, he's beyond that now.
Sure.
I don't know. Hopefully, I mean, he's 76 this year. So
Woo.
I don't know. We'll see.
Up there.
We'll see. It's a good question, though. A couple of super chats. Frank Riker says, would you rather babysit Reagan or a kid from Village of the Damned? I would rather babysit Reagan.
I can handle Reagan.
Because Village of the Damned, those kids can read your mind.
Yeah.
Chris Baber at Tony. How do you find your locations for your photos?
I would say Dave pretty much would concur with this. You just go out and you scout and you just go around, travel around. I travel all over North Georgia, borders of South Carolina, Alabama. The South, thankfully, is very old. There's a lot of old buildings here, and people are just very friendly down here. If you don't act like a dickhead and you're not a jerk, and you understand that, when you're in the South, you're in the South. There's just a different way of life down here. People think differently. But I can't stress it enough. They're friendly as shit. And if you are just kind and courteous to them, these people will be like, yeah, man, go ahead, check it out, whatever you want to do, whatever. Just don't blow it up. Don't do anything. And that's
hey, man, come on in. You want some? I got some rich for this. Hey.
I took a picture of a guy because outside of my Instagram, I do film stuff. And I got this shot that I just developed. I haven't converted it digitally yet, but it's just a good old Southern boy, man. He's just smoking his cigarette, and on his porch, he's got the American flag and the Confederate flag. And right next to him is an African-American buddy of his. And I'm just like, no one will believe me if I don't take this photo. I've got to take this photo. And that's what I mean. That's what I mean by
photo.
It is. And that's what I mean by the culture difference down here. Like, believe me, we talked about it once before. I know what that flag symbolizes, but to a lot of people down here, it doesn't mean the same thing. And a lot of people don't view it the same way. And I'm just sitting here like looking at this natural thing happening. And while I was out doing one of my horror themed shoots, and I'm looking at the girl who's in my recent shoot here, who's doing the exorcist pose, I'm like, do you see
the
what
spider walk?
The spider walk. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, check it out. But I'm looking at her and I'm like, do you see what I'm seeing? Like, this white dude and this African American are sitting here talking. There's an American flag and there's a Confederate flag there, and nobody's like, no uproar, no one. And I'm like, no one's gonna believe this if I don't take this shot. So I'm like, I went up to them and I said, guys, do you mind if I take your photo? No, you're told. And that's the attitude of Southerners, man. They're just very friendly, very kind heart people. If you treat them good, they're going to treat you back the same way. And
that's awesome.
Thankfully, with the locations, I've just been very fortunate that people have allowed me to use locations that I've also in agreement to not disclose the actual address, because they don't want people going there and destroying shit and stuff like that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Absolutely. Okay, you pick one.
Let's see here. Any plan, Adam Carl Green, any plans to cover the Halloween series and focus on the Thorn trilogy? I mean, I'm sure at some point we'll probably do like a 1978 Halloween stream and just talk that film. And I'm sure, we'll do Halloween 4. I don't know. Do you want to get into the Thorn trilogy, or like, I mean, maybe at some point we might, if we're like kind of thinking of something. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I think it might stop at 4, like, because we did Season of the Witch, so at some point we're probably going to do 1 and 2. We actually should do 1 and 2 because they do just kind of go together.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna say I'm just so I'm so Halloweened out. I know. It's like I can always talk Halloween, but sometimes I like to leave some distance because I just find myself, I'm repeating myself because there's only so much you can say about it. Now, he did say, with a focus on the Thorn trilogy or the Thorn films. Well, the Thorn, I guess would be 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So it's not really a trilogy. Yeah. I mean, with a focus on that, I mean, you know what I think about part 1. You know what I think about part 2. You know what I think about part 4. You certainly know what I think about part 5. I might be able to give maybe some more fresh insight into how I feel about part 6, but I just don't like the Thorn trilogy. I just don't like where they went with it. So if you want to hear me sort of just say that I think this is dog shit, then which some people might want to just hear me say that, but I can just I can just tell you right now, it's just kind of like, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe we will. Maybe come Halloween time, because Tony and I have some ideas that we're going to do.
Oh yeah,
leading into October. So maybe leading into October, maybe we'll do a show where we do that. Maybe we will, but I don't want to promise anything because I'm just kind of like, what can I say about Halloween 4, 5, and 6 that you don't already know how I feel about it?
That's the thing I was thinking of. Like, see, it'd be different if it was. Everything that's so great about Halloween 4 gets shit on by Halloween 5 and 6. And it's like so tough to separate that. But if we were just saying, hey, let's do a stream one night and we'll just dedicate it to Halloween and Halloween 2. Oh, okay, hey, dude, let's do a stream and dedicate it to Halloween 4 because, we like the movies enough that I think we could make it a solid stream. Because I think you can talk about Halloween 4 and you can ride the line a little bit with Halloween 5, but not necessarily get too deep into the Thorn shit where you start getting into like angry territory and start getting pissed off about the stream, of the direction that they went with the storytelling and whatnot. I'm with Dave. I don't know. We'll have to think about it.
I don't know. We'll think about it.
Nothing is ever off the table.
Nothing is ever off the table. It's just that, politics is.
Oh,
but in terms of entertainment, we mean
fake news.
It's fake. It's okay. Okay.
Oh damn.
What was I gonna say? Yeah. So it's the kind of thing where, nothing is off the table, but I think because myself and Tony, and together, Tony and I, we went so hard on Halloween there for a long time.
Wow.
I think we just need some distance before we talk about Halloween again. I mean, we can always answer a question about it, but to dedicate a show, like a 2-hour show to Halloween again, it's just like, let's give some, because there's so many other topics that we want to talk about and things we want to talk about that Halloween will pop up again. And maybe we'll talk about the Thorn movies, but I just don't like them. So.
Well, I think what's important, and we know, and I know, and Dave knows, like we know the majority of the people who are subscribed to Dave's channel is because they are Halloween fans. And that's why we try to maybe space it out by every maybe 3 or 4 weeks before the next Halloween video. But we also don't want to forget that either, because we know why you guys are here. We know that you're Halloween fans as much as we are. So we do try to make sure that, we're not going to forget about that. But we want to, like Dave said, we want to get into other stuff and talk about other stuff, because I think Dave and I would like to think we're more than just Halloween and Michael Myers.
Exactly, which is why we made a special note to actually talk about lots of things.
Yeah.
Grave Warmer for the super chat. Thank you, Grave. If you were in control of putting a team together of any writer, director, and cinematographer, alive or dead, to make a horror suspense thriller movie, which three are you collabing together?
Three.
That's a great question. Well, let me just say that I would probably pick. I would pick Conrad Hall as the cinematographer. I would pick Kubrick as the director.
Really, even with his work ethic, which is a really great work ethic, but he's a very difficult work ethic.
He is. And
very difficult.
Writer, I would choose. And for those of you that don't know who Conrad Hall is, Conrad Hall was the director of photography. I want to make sure I got this right. I don't want to say it and lead you guys astray. He's dead now, by the way. He's one of the great cinematographers of all time. And he has directed movies such as, his last movie. He directed movies like Road to Perdition, American Beauty, Black Widow. Let me go back to Edge of Fury. Just Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Marathon Man, Searching for Bobby Fischer, a civil. He's a great cinematographer. He if anybody has ever seen Road to Perdition, and the mood and the atmosphere in that movie is fantastic. I mean, there are other director of photographies as well that would do justice. You can take Dean Cundy. I mean, Dean Cundy's going to do a great job. He's a legendary director.
That's my cinematographer. I mean,
photographer. So
yeah. The thing with Kubrick, look, I love Kubrick. He's my favorite. I've said that so many times on here. Me and Kubrick's personalities, we would clash because I have a very similar work ethic like Kubrick's. Like, for example, the girl who I just posted on my Instagram here doing the Exorcist backbend catwalk crawl, spider walk crawl. She went through hell. There's no wires there. There's nothing. Like, she had to do that pose, and I needed her to get her feet to look disconjointed, but also up on her toes because I knew the effect that it would have. But this is what I did. I took probably about 300 photographs of her doing that, and it wasn't until the very tail end where she was getting frustrated with me when I got the shot that I was looking for because I got the facial expression to match up. Right. I think me and Kubrick would clash that way because we might decide like, no, he might say I want more, or I might say no, we need to pull back, and I think we would clash to that because we have that same type of work ethic, and that's with not even just with her, but even like when I do, like I have someone dressed up in the Freddy costume or Michael or whatever. I mean, I will take a lot of shots. I had one guy who, my first Michael Myers, he bailed out on me because he couldn't do it anymore. He's like, dude, you are way too hard on this. But because I know, first of all, I know what this fan base is like. I know how they're going to even critique my photos if I don't get it accurate for them. And it's also a work ethic, working hard. It's just something I've done since I was a kid. So it pains me not to say Kubrick, but I have to probably say Cundy, Wes Craven, and Wes Craven as my writer, because Wes Craven's a really good fucking screenwriter.
He's a good writer. I was going to say that too. I was going to say that.
And my director, I could go Carpenter or Spielberg, because I think Spielberg, but he didn't direct Poltergeist, even though he gets the cred.
He didn't, but I would love to see Spielberg do a bona fide horror movie.
Yeah, he's kind of skimmed the surface. William Friedkin. There you go. That's another good one.
There you go. All
right. Yeah. Good question, though. I like that.
Yeah, good question. Let's see here.
Did you get all the super chats?
I believe I think I did. Well, one more just came in from Chris Baber. Thank you, Chris. At Tony, War Eagle, Bulldogs go down this year. At Dave, enjoy your NBA championship.
I'm trying to figure out the War Eagle part. I get the Bulldogs this day. I'm not a Bulldogs fan. I'm a Florida State. I do root for Georgia Bulldogs because they're the home state team. And when I'm at a game, I will support the home state team. And they're in the SEC, which is a different conference than Florida State. I'm trying to figure out what the War Eagle means. Do you know what the War Eagle means?
No.
Chris, if you can like fill me in on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, Chris, hey, my fingers are crossed for tomorrow night, but the Golden State Warriors are champions for a reason. They've been to the NBA Finals 5 years in a row for a reason. I am not holding my fingers are tightly crossed. I'm not taking anything for granted here. I hope that this time tomorrow, or a little bit later, I guess, Toronto will be celebrating its first NBA championship and the first time that the trophy has gone just above the border to Canada. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll feel much more comfortable tomorrow night if it actually happens. So we'll see. Let's see here. We'll go for a few more minutes.
Thank you, Bump in the Night Studios. You are right. War Eagle is Auburn. I forgot about them. They're an Alabama team.
Okay.
They're in the state of Alabama. They're a big SEC conference team. So
okay,
all right, that's okay. So all right, so clearly, Chris, I know who your team is, but yeah, I'm not a Bulldogs fan. I mean, I support them, but they're not my team.
Right. Mark McCatherine says, I'm planning a Friday the 13th fan film. May never happen, but any advice? You're planning a fan film. It might not happen. Do you have any advice? Well, my advice would be to, I don't know your level of budget. My advice would be to just keep it simple. Location, location, location. Don't shoot it in your backyard. And again, I don't know how old you are, so I don't know what access to resources you have, but just take your time with it. There's no rush, and just work really hard. And location's important. I don't know. My advice would just be to work hard, because I don't know any of the variables. I don't know if you're 12 or if you're 32 or.
And what's your experience of filmmaking?
Exactly. I don't know your level of experience. So, Deshaun Riley says, Dave and Tony, which trilogy do you think is better, the Thorn trilogy or the Dream trilogy from Nightmare, Dream Warriors, Master and Child? Well,
which Thorn trilogy?
I don't consider I don't.
Which dream sequence in Thorn? Like which one?
No, they're talking about which trilogy do you think is better? The Dream trilogy from Nightmare in terms of the movies.
Oh, okay.
Dream Warriors,
gotcha.
Dream Master, Dream Child. I don't consider that a trilogy. It's part of the series.
It is. It's part of the continuity of what's been being told to us.
Just because the titles are Dream This, Dream That, Dream This doesn't mean that those movies continuity-wise are movies all on their own. Because the Dream Master, the Dream Warriors, there's no you could argue and say that that's a sequel to the first movie. So, I mean, you have to include that in there. So, I'm not a fan of Dream Child. Dream Master has its moments, but that's really when Freddy went all MTV.
Yeah, that 4 was the beginning of the end of the franchise.
Yeah, and 3 was good because it was different. But 3 was when you could see Freddy leaning that way a little bit. He's still
It was
scary.
the beginning. Yeah.
It was the beginning. You can't say him leaning that way, but it was still controlled enough that you could be like, all right, that was pretty good. I enjoyed that movie. That was good. And of course, it tends to be a fan favorite just because of the concept and the cool kills and all that kind of stuff. So I don't consider it a trilogy of movies. No more than I consider 4, 5, and 6 the Thorn trilogy, because it's not. It's because you have to include 1 and 2 in there, So and 4 is not 4. There's no mention of Thorn anywhere in Part 4. They were not going that way.
No, they weren't.
Thorn, was only referenced or even acknowledged briefly by the tattoo on Michael's wrist in Part 5. It wasn't until Part 6 where they went full on Thorn. I don't even think the word Thorn was mentioned in Part 5. I don't think.
No, it wasn't.
So I mean, it's not it's a mission. It's bullshit. It's dog shit.
It's sad.
If you like them, that's great. Okay, that's great. If you find some enjoyment in those films, my hat goes off to you. Which is why I tell people, don't come here to find out, to find out what you think. You think what you think, and I'll think what I think. And when we agree, that's great. When we don't, that's okay too. And they're a shell of what Halloween was by and large. And I just don't, I can find redeeming qualities, but as a whole, I'm not a big fan, which is basically my general consensus of those movies, which is why I don't feel like I need to talk about them in a whole episode.
Yeah, no.
Anyway,
I agree with you. And the sad thing is that as wonky as the Friday the 13th franchise eventually evolves to, even with the craziness of Jason not being in part 5, I do love part 6. Then it gets a little bit bad in part 7, and then it starts to get really bad in part 8, and then of course Jason goes to hell. As bad as that gets, and even Jason in Outer Space, the continuity of the damn story always stayed the fucking same. They never broke the continuity. You don't have these alternate universes and timelines and this shit. It is more the continuity of Friday the 13th. Think about this for a moment. Is so on point. It's so on point and accurate and doesn't skip a beat that it makes the Halloween franchise look like it was written by fucking 5th graders.
well, and this is what's so hilarious about
when you think about it, it's like, wait,
Yeah.
really? Like,
Yeah.
that's how accurate the Friday the 13th continuity timeline is.
Yeah, and listen, I understand there's people that love H2O. There's people that love Resurrection. There's people that love 4, 5, and 6. And I get it in terms of Halloween. And that's great. But I find it funny that people always make it's like alternate timelines. The reason why the Halloween franchise is so screwed up is because they fucked up.
Yeah.
It's not like this was never intentional. The reason why it's like you can go this way, you can go that way, you can go this way, you can go this way, you can go that way, because they fucked up. It's sheer incompetence. That is what it is, and they're spinning this now, this illusion, just think of it like this and think of it like this. It's like these people are trying to justify their mistakes.
Their screw up.
Yeah, it's like it's a choose your own adventure. Isn't that fun? No, it's not fun. It's not fun. I made this point, and I'm saying this in jest, obviously. I'm not serious. But I made this point where, and I think I made it on a show with you. I said, listen, if you're asking me that all these other Halloween movies don't exist anymore, then I want my money back. I want my fucking money back. I spent money to go see H2O, and I spent my money to go see Halloween 6, and I spent money to go see Resurrection, and I spent money to go see Rob Zombie's Halloween. I want my fucking money back. You just told me that because of Halloween 2018, these movies don't exist anymore. So I want my money back. Obviously, I'm kidding. They don't do. It's a business. There's no guarantee you're going to like the movie. But I just find it funny that we live in a world where you can just pretend that didn't happen, and people go, okay. I'm just, and you just make another movie that's just, it's so much garbage out there. There's so much garbage, and
you look at Friday the 13th Part 5, which is one of the most hated ones in the franchise because Jason's not even in it. But the continuity of the story state, with Tommy Jarvis. It follows what the events that happened after part 4. You get the brief, cameo of Corey Feldman there in the beginning of the film. Then you skip a few years to Tommy being older now and the events and how that affected him of, what happened when he was a kid. As bad as that film is, it stays in line with the continuity of Friday the 13th. It doesn't drift. It doesn't give us some new mythology to Jason and Thorn. That doesn't happen until the very end of the film, or the franchise, which at that point, okay, that's forgiven because it's at the end and you can, but 1 through 8, that's kind of where that's to me, the heart of that. That's the Friday franchise. Once it gets to Jason, it goes to hell, and Jason 10, I don't care. But 1 through 8, everything really, it stays together. And you just sit and you think about that and you go, okay, they managed to keep everything in line. You look at Halloween, it's like, okay, we're going here now. No, we're going to go over here. No, fuck it. We're going to bring you back over this way. No, we're going to like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, I understand it. And listen, I'm not a fan of the Friday the 13th. I'm not a fan of 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 6. I enjoy 6, and I've gotten some enjoyment out of 5.
Yeah.
I think the really only bad thing about 5, really, at the end of the day, is it's just not Jason.
That's it.
But a lot of people like it. There's, it's the Halloween 3 of the franchise, and to a point. But you got to credit. The continuity is pretty. There's garbage films, but the continuity is pretty consistent. And the Elm Street films, the same thing. They do switch up characters, and you feel a little disjointed a bit. But it is sort of it is kind of the same thing.
It's a continuation. It's continuing of the storytelling.
Yeah, the Halloween franchise was incompetence. It really was. And
It's too bad that that's what happened to what could. You think about if they had just taken their damn time and just like taking a beat, imagine what that franchise could have been if it was done right.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. I agree 100%. Super chats from Frank Riker. Thank you, Frank. Dave, how many cars will you tip over when the Raptors... Oh, you probably mean trip over when the Raptors win. Well, I'm not right downtown in the core where there's probably going to be, thousands of people. If the Raptors win tomorrow night, look on ESPN or TNT.
Just look in the
whatever.
sky. You're going to see fire and flames.
Right,
Toronto's going to be on fire.
It's going to be on fire. Just fucking watch it. I mean, it's ridiculous. So probably a lot. And I have a voiceover session Tuesday morning downtown in the core. I'm doing some television spots for a local news channel here in Toronto called CP24. So, I gotta, if they win, I'm wearing this hat because I'm not taking my car down there. I'm fucking taking transit. Fuck that shit. It's going to be fucking crazy. I'll take the subway or something. Let's see here. Chris Baber. Thank you, Chris. Shat show. I'm out. Thorn is lame.
No disagreement there.
I love the three sort of shat show. I'm out. Thorn is lame. He's out. And he donated just to say that. Thank you, Chris. You're awesome, buddy.
That's cool.
Okay, we'll go to 9:30. Go to a few more minutes.
This one went by fast tonight.
Yeah,
like the fact that like it's at 9:30, it doesn't feel like it feels like it should still only be like 8:15. Like this went by quick.
It did go by quick. I agree.
Nick Foster, what are your thoughts on Beetlejuice? Fucking love that movie. I watch it every October.
I love that movie. Oh no, I can't say I love that movie. I like the movie, but I haven't seen it in many years. I got to watch that movie again.
That's a good show we could do. Tim Burton's Beetlejuice.
Yeah, we could do that. Super chat, Tony Cosgrove. Thank you, Tony. Much appreciated. If Laurie's dad would have just done his damn job and dropped off the key himself, would Michael just stay home that night? Well,
and not get serenade. I wish I had you all
alone. Just the two of us. Ow!
She made that up, didn't she? Right?
She did. It's not a real song at all.
A real song.
Yes, yes, you can. It's look if Laurie's dad had not or had gone to the Myers house to drop off the key himself, there may not have been a movie because it's Michael being in his old house, checking things out, maybe eating a dog, who the fuck knows. And it was the footsteps up onto the front porch that caught his attention. Yep. And he was like, what the fuck is that? And he goes to the front porch and he sees this girl and he's like, oh, interesting. And then he's like, oh, she's interesting. She's kind of cute. What's going on here? So you're right. If Laurie had, there would never been any reason to follow Laurie around. Right? Because that's what he did. He followed her home. He followed her to the school. He followed her, to the babysitter, to Tommy's house and Lindsay's house. So and it's all because of that first meeting. So yeah, you're right. If only the fucking dad could have dropped off the fucking key the whole fucking time.
See, I think, and I agree with you. I like to picture Michael before that moment of Laurie walking up onto the steps. He's sitting there on his 70s beanbag, eating his Cheetos.
Smoking a joint.
Like sitting there with his knife like, man, I just need to kill me a bitch right now. I wish a girl would just walk up onto these doorsteps so that I can start stalking the shit out of her. Oh, all right. See, that's what I picture Michael doing before those moments. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not how the story was written. But yeah, if Laurie doesn't go up to the house, then the night as we know it doesn't unfold.
That's exactly right. All right, few more here. Just a few more. Let's see if we can do a little rapid fire. Let me go back. Blu-ray Addict says, Friday the 13th is my favorite horror franchise. I love all 12 films. Rock on. PC Pierce says, which director has meant more to artists and future filmmakers, James Cameron or Stanley Kubrick?
Ooh.
I think it depends. I think
it depends on who you talk to.
And
I'm not a Cameron fan, but I respect what he's done.
Yeah, and it depends on the. I mean, both are extremely influential in their own way. So that's a very deep question for a
That's
for
a
more
great
time.
question. That
a great
like
question.
yeah, it's so hard to answer that because, and just to clarify, like I don't mean that in a negative way that I'm not a Cameron fan. Like T1, T2, Titanic, guy has done phenomenal shit. Avatar, there's no
True
question.
Lies.
But I'm not like a fan
The
like I am with
Abyss.
The Abyss, right? Like I am with Kubrick and Kubrick's
Right.
films. That so it's a biased opinion that I would be answering that.
Sure. Gotcha. Patrick Ollinger says, Dave and Tone, do you think Beetlejuice 2 will ever happen?
I mean, I know there's always been rumors. I know Wynonna's up to it. I think Keaton's even up to it. It's just
maybe.
Hollywood, man, they take years to do shit.
He just seems a little old for the role now, but who knows?
Although I would like to see him do him. I would like to see him and Burtman do Batman, old Batman, The Dark Knight, like the bookend of the trilogy that they want to do. I'd love to see them do that.
Let's see here. Adam Carl Green says Deep Impact or Armageddon. Here's my thoughts on that. Armageddon. I saw Armageddon in the theater way back in '98. They both came out actually in 1998.
Yeah, that's where we were in that run with the Independence Day, Armageddon, Deep Impact. Basically, the world was fucking ending every year.
Exactly. Armageddon is that it's just a fun,
really
epic
is.
sort of.
Yeah.
It's more of that epic fun kind of thing. Deep Impact, I feel, is not quite as grand as Armageddon was. It obviously didn't. It had some star power in it, but it felt more legit. It felt more grounded in kind of. It was a more sort of toned, like it was kind of like I don't want to say real, but it felt just more legit. Like it was actually happening. Armageddon felt like a typical Hollywood spectacle.
And it was fun. It was
fun.
Movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. But Deep Impact felt a little more like realistic, maybe.
Right.
In some respects. All right. One more question. Let me see here. Oh, Aaron Keller, Dave, you're racist against Freddie and Jason. I know what he's talking about. A hate mail I got. That's funny.
Are you? Someone really wrote you a hate mail saying you're racist against Freddie and Jason?
I believe they said something to the effect of, "Why don't you talk more?" And this is like months ago, last year. Why don't you talk more about Freddie and Jason? All you talk about Michael so much. And of course, it's leading up to the release of Halloween, 2018. If Freddie or Jason had a movie in production about to come out, I'd be talking about them a lot too. But There's nothing to talk about with them. There's literally nothing. And I'm not somebody that's going to jump on just because Jason Blum and, Jamie Lee Curtis are together.
The messages I got from that the other day.
Talking about stuff. What do you think they're talking about?
And
what do you think they're talking about? Halloween? That's what I think they're talking about.
Yeah. And how do we know when this photo was taken that they finally went to release it to the public too? That's the other thing.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point.
You know what I mean? We don't know. We don't know. It's like
yeah. Anyways, it was a hate mail I got accusing me of being racist because I talk
accused of being racist because you don't talk about Freddie and Jason enough. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. There you go. Okay.
You guys want me to be on YouTube every day? Bullshit. I'm good with that. I am good with that.
Oh, it's just noise to me, man. It's just like I said, I get so many comments. I'll read some. I try to read some, and I'll respond if there's a factual error that's been made. And sometimes, if I have some time, I'll respond back. But most of the comments I don't ever see because there's just so many. It's never personal to anybody. I always ask people to comment because I want them to have I want them to tell me what they think, but I want there to be an engagement of discussion amongst fellow fans, right? Because that's what it's all about. But it's impossible for me to read everything and respond to everybody personally. It's just too much. Okay, one more. Tony, you pick it. One more. On episode 26 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit.
Well, why don't you grab one and then I'll look since
okay, two more.
Do some rapid fires while I
Okay, rapid fires. Here we go. Let's see here.
Mr. Strode was the real murderer.
Maybe he was. Maybe he was.
He was.
Let's see here. Some rapid fire. Kenny _525 says, "Hey, Dave and Tony, thoughts on Starship Troopers? I saw that movie in the theater and I thought it was funny. I liked it. It's a spoofy
fun movie.
It's not to be taken seriously at all. Let's see here. Scroll back.
Ooh, I got it. Mark McCatherine. We'll do a couple more about rapid fire ones, but this is the good, long question to answer. Dave, what's worse? Halloween 8 Resurrection, I'm assuming that's what you mean, yep. Or Texas Chainsaw Next Generation? That's the one with Matt McConaughey and Renee Zellweger, right?
I haven't seen the Texas Chainsaw Next Generation.
Oh, you haven't?
So,
fuck.
No.
All right, I have to keep looking then. Sorry, man. I thought that would have been a good one to...
Can't answer that question. Halloween 8 is dog shit, though.
I don't know, man. You got to see Next Generation. It's pretty damn dog shit, too. Especially when you got Matt McConaughey and Renee Zellweger in this film, and it's really dog shit.
I bet. No, I have no doubt that it isn't. All right. Adam Carl Green says, "Have you guys watched The Staircase on Netflix? Did he do it? I haven't. No, I have not watched it. I've seen the thumbnail, though.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
I've seen the thumbnail." Nick says, "Dave and Tony, Jordan Peele saw Midsommar early. He said it was one of the most disturbing horror movies he's ever seen." Yes, I read about that. I will reserve my judgment for when I see it, obviously. Yeah,
that's like someone last year did an article, said the Hereditary was scarier than The Exorcist or something like that. I was like, oh, come on. Let's get a reality check for a moment.
Yeah.
I don't buy into those hype things.
Mikey Son says, "Dave, Tony, He-Man or Thundercats? For me, He-Man." That's me, though. Tony?
Probably He-Man. I mean, either one are great.
Yeah. I like
no,
He-Man.
really. I like He-Man was the cartoon that I did. I did follow Transformer 2. I like Thundercats and I like Voltron. But I wasn't I said this last weekend. I wasn't by 6 or 7 years old. I got so knee deep into horror films like fucking cartoons were out the window for me.
Oh yeah. No, I understand. I'm a big He-Man guy.
Yeah.
All right. You pick one last one.
Oh God!
Zero OM says Dave could play a good Skeletor. I'm not. I probably could.
Cartoon voice, you could do a really good one. I think
I could, and I probably could be a great live action Skeletor. The only problem is I'm not tall enough. Because I mean,
Skeletor.
Well, I just mean that. Well, he's probably. I mean, I probably could for all intents and purposes, but I want my vision of Skeletor is a big guy. You know what I mean? He's got to rival a bodybuilder He-Man, right?
Yeah.
So, but I would love to play Skeletor in a cartoon. Yeah, that would be awesome. Anyways, all right, last one.
Keep going.
Saying that
keep
for
going.
10 minutes. Oh,
I know.
Tony's looking for something good.
I want to answer a good question.
He's looking for something good.
I am. Well, because a lot of them are just comments. There's not really a question.
I know.
So I'm looking for the question.
Nick follows up with, "Dave, do you do Beetlejuice's voice?" I can't even think of what Beetlejuice's voice is. I haven't seen that movie in so long.
No. This goes back. Okay. Hold on. I remember seeing this, and I meant to respond to her.
Right. Okay.
And it had something to do. Michelle Lark. Okay. Question for you guys: what are your 5 dislikes for horror films? And she also asked us what was our favorite scene in Sleepaway Camp. I thought that was a good question. And since we talked about Sleepaway Camp tonight,
great stuff, Michelle. Hopefully she's still watching.
She is. I think I saw her comment. So she asked us what our favorite scene was in Sleepaway Camp and what our 5 dislikes to horror films. So favorite scene. I mean, it's such a campy movie. I gotta say Meg's death, man, because it's so bad it's good. She's just in the shower it's just so bad it's good.
That's a good scene. I like that scene.
I mean, even when the kid starts going off on when Ricky starts going off on the older kids and he's just firing off with his mouth there, I'm like, man, that was me at that age,
I'll say that I mean, it's so.
It's so cheesy. The whole movie's cheesy. It's hard to pick like one scene because you just enjoy the cheesiness of it.
Yeah, I love that, and I like the scene of the cook. Ah! Ah!
Never
Ah!
ending.
It's great. It's great. Now
But
and then it was
dislikes.
5
Dislikes from a horror film.
5
5 dislikes.
wait,
That's a good
5
question.
dislikes of any horror movie.
Like what would like 5 things that you would I think the way she's meaning it, 5 things that you would pick from a movie that you would dislike.
Okay, well, the overuse of CGI
Bingo.
in modern day horror films, the overuse of jump scares, the reliant on jump scares to help carry the narrative forward
with the sound effect to the super boom.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
The reliant or overuse of framing your shot with some negative space where somebody is backing up, but the way the camera is moving with them, you know they're about to turn around and bump into something, someone, or like the over-reliant on that. I guess that's 3.
The Nun. Basically, everything you're describing is what the Nun oversaturated itself with.
Well, that's why I didn't bother seeing the Nun. What else?
Because everything you're saying is pretty much taking what I'm saying, because none of that's scary.
Right.
You know, it's not scary. You know, even jumping is not scary.
Right.
The reason why it's disturbing to watch a film like The Exorcist, that's fucking scary.
Yeah.
That's disturbing. It's not relying on this. It's
Well,
relying on the story that it's telling. It's not relying on sound design.
Yeah, and again, it's hard to. Maybe the question should have been maybe better as 5 things from a slasher movie, because horror encompasses so many different subgenres. But those are 3 for sure.
Bad storytelling.
That's just kind of. But you can equate that to any genre. I would say, overuse of CGI, overuse of jump scares, overuse of the predictable jump scare, and then I'm trying to think. I gotta think on that. I mean, it's a great question. I could say maybe lack of an identity in terms of its music. We live in a day and age now where we don't really have horror themes anymore. And it's not that I'm knocking the soundscape and the sound design, because the music or sound design in a lot of these horror films are really good. But there's a lack of a one piece of music that is really immediately identifiable to that particular franchise or movie. And that was a thing that has sort of been a lost art nowadays.
Very lost. You don't have like the nightmare theme melody, or you don't have like the Halloween theme. You have no one doing something like with that type of identity for these movies.
Right. And it feels very, it's unfortunate. So I would say that maybe is number 4, but that doesn't like it bothers me or something, but that's something that I wish I could see in more modern day films. I don't know if they think it's cheesy, or if they think maybe if we have a theme to horror that's cheesy or something. I don't know what the reason for that is. And then 5, I would probably say 5 might be, I don't know. 5 things you don't like in a horror movie. 5 things. I'm trying to think my 5th one. I don't know, Tony, you go ahead and I'll see if I can think of my 5th one.
Those were pretty much the same ones. The overuse of CGI, the overkill use of sound design is just insane. The lack thereof creating your own type of melody or sound that people can identify with. That's the one disappointment, and I don't know if it was for a copyright reason or what. I loved everything about Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day 2. I think it was creative. It's fun. Obviously, it's a funny horror comedy take on Groundhog Day.
Sure.
This is not really ruining anything for those who haven't seen it, because it's not really story dialogue, and they've talked about it enough on reviews that they don't actually use 50 Cent's song in the club. That's part of the promotional advertisement for the trailers.
Right,
they don't use it at all in the movie. And I think a lot of people identified 50 Cent's song to that movie, and it's like you're sitting there with Blumhouse going, why didn't you just use it? Like, I thought that was going to be in, I don't know if it was a copyright thing, a legal thing. I never read up on it. Maybe someone in the chat room can, clarify that. But yeah, the lack of like having like, when you hear the Halloween theme, you know what's playing. When you hear the Nightmare on Elm Street melody, you know what it is. Even Friday the 13th, it's got its little, besides the kid, ma. I know that's a horrible impression, but you know what I'm referring to.
I know what you're referring to.
But even Friday the 13th does have, it has a score. I have the vinyl soundtrack down there. There is a score to it that, what's his name? God, what the hell is the composer's name now? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I almost said Frank Mancini, but that was the producer of the Friday the 13th films.
Oh, you mean no? You mean Sean S. Cunningham?
That's the soundtrack for those who want to know. That's the original one. Oh, Harry Manfredi.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
That's who did the score for Friday the 13th. So anyways, soundtracks today are just, there is none. There is none. You can even say the same. Look at these Marvel movies, right? How great they are. They don't really have Avengers has got that one little harmony, like when they assemble and stuff, but that's pretty much it. There's no like theme. Yes, there's scores, but there's not like when you hear the Halloween theme or the Star Wars theme or the Superman theme or the Exorcist theme or Jaws or E.T. even. You know what I mean? Like that's, movie scores today, especially in horror films, there really is none,
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Maybe my fifth one would be an abundance of sequels.
Ooh.
Unnecessary sequels.
Not many sequels anymore, are they?
They're
not really doing many sequels. Well, yeah. How many are we up to on Insidious?
4 or 5.
Saw is like up to what, 10?
Something like that. Conjuring's going into and if you include Annabelle, it's sequels. I don't like. I don't mind a good sequel. I like a good sequel. But it's when you start to get into the 3 to 5 range, when you start to hit 3 or 4, that's when things start to waver. Because even in great trilogies, the third one tends to be weaker, right? Yeah. You can look at The Dark Knight Rises. You can look at The Godfather Part 3. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, a lot of people really like that. That tends to be their favorite. It's not my favorite. I actually personally think The Last Crusade is the weaker of the 3 films. But traditionally, third movies in a franchise tend to not be, unless I know that I said traditionally. It's not that there aren't any. I don't know. And then, I remember there was somebody that said, but Dave, look at the Fast and Furious movies and their sequels. But they've redefined what they were. Yeah, the Fast and Furious mission. Right, Fast and Furious. You can't compare the Fast and Furious 7, 8, and 6 to what it was in Part 1. It's like a completely different fucking movie.
Yeah, it got better because it's totally different.
Because they've embraced the absurdity of
hero.
Right. That's why. But to keep something consistent and level-headed and grounded, there's only so many you can do. I'm all for a great sequel. It's not that I don't like sequels, but with horror movies, once you get to 3 to 4, that's where it's kind of like, whoa, hang on, because things just become ridiculously unfresh and it's dumb.
Forced comedy. Someone mentioned that in the chat. You went by me here really quick, but that's another one I like. Like the forced comedy that they tried to use in Halloween last year, 2018.
Yeah.
Which you totally knew that was what's his name there, McBride. You totally know McBride's comedy because I think he even wrote some stuff with Seth Rogen in Pineapple Express.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of get he's got that like hard, edgy stuff. Like I appreciate it for where it belongs in a movie like Pineapple Express. Okay, that's where the raunchy comedy penis jokes need to be in. Penis jokes don't need to be in Halloween.
No, they don't.
They don't.
No, and it's and the thing that's dumb is that it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any sense why this character would say that. Oh, I got peanut butter on my penis. Like, why though? Like, it doesn't. Maybe you did get peanut butter on your penis, but who says that? Right? Like nobody actually says that. And the reason why it's funny is because nobody says that. Nobody says, got peanut butter on my penis. That's why but it's just, it's a whole other thing. We could go on and on and on, but I agree with what you said. We'll reserve that to another Halloween thing. But anyways, folks, that's going to do it for Tony and I here on episode 26 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Thank you to each and every one of you in the chat room that was alive tonight and contributing. And thank you to everybody who helped support the channel via Super Chats. It's greatly appreciated. The show looks the way it does now because of your super chat, so it's always greatly appreciated. And Tony and I will be back hopefully next Sunday with another episode, episode 27. I will let you guys know, of course, throughout the week what that is going. What topic that will be. So
27 Club, the deaths of everybody who died at 27. No,
ooh,
that would be that one.
That's a little morbid. That's a little morbid.
Yeah, it is. You talk about like Kurt Cobain and Janis and
yes, exactly.
Janis, Hendrix. I think Amy Winehouse also was 27.
She might have been. There's
a
lot of
big
them.
list of 27 in the 27 Club.
Yeah, there is. But yeah, so thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys again next week, and hopefully I'll have a video or two throughout the week at some point. I have some ideas, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, and if you're not following Tony on Instagram, his link is in the description. All my links are down there as well. So in the meantime and in between time, we will talk to you guys soon. Cheers!